All right. We see this guy like every video, don't we? What's his name? Jason? I feel like we know this guy.
Welcome back to Middle Ground.
Jason, I knew it. I'm sorry.
And thank you to our sponsor Dashlane for making this episode possible. Make sure you stick around after the episode for a special offer from Dashlane. But first, here is Middle Ground, free speech versus censorship.
Not sponsored by Dashlane. They don't give us any money. Just want that to be out there. Everyone in this video was tested.
Hello.
Oh my Jesus Christ. Hello, Ashley. I can always tell it's you. You have easily one of the most distinguishable voices. Uh-oh. Is that Flippity Beast Flip? Uh-oh. Is that other Ashley down in the chat? Girl, I know you at choir rehearsal. I know you ain't skipping out on Jesus for little old me. I sure appreciate it.
Astral, I can't hear you.
Oh my, what? Like at all? Phil, can you hear me? Interesting. Am I muted? All right, let's restart the Discord. Because, you know, what's a stream without technical difficulties? You know, like, are you even here if you ain't messing it up? All right, can you hear me? All right, maybe they can't hear me. All right, so let me go to voice and video. That's weird. Let's check. Bada bing. All right. Oh, it's on push to talk. I'm stupid. All right, my bad. I was on push to talk. Oh, Luna, you were correct. 10 points for Gryffindor. Is that your house? No, you're more like a Slytherin, actually.
Oh, shit. Ow.
Now, why are you hurting yourself, Ashley?
I was squatting, and then I tried to get back up, but then my butt hit my chair.
Sorry.
I think Jock is being attacked or invaded by...
That was my alarm for my pizza. I set a timer.
That is dangerous.
Gotta take it out of the oven in 20 minutes. Don't let me forget.
We've already forgotten. Also, don't let your pizza burn or your house crumble into ashes, because God knows I'm not gonna remember. Hey Siri, set a timer for 20 minutes.
Thank you.
I was gonna say I'm also here too, but I'm gonna be a little bit more quiet.
Bill!
What's up, Philly Dippity Scrippity Flip?
Hello.
Expose your desktop, says Cora. Hey, Legend of Cora. Sure. Well, I mean, y'all can only see. It's pretty empty, as you can see. This one is. Anyway, let's get into it. Everyone in this video was tested for COVID-19 prior to filming. Stay safe and thanks for watching. Not the people in my chat. I don't know what y'all doing, but I'm pretty sure everyone here has been vaccinated. Regardless. Anyway.
I'm vaxxed and waxed, and what's the last one?
Ready to kick ass. I don't know.
What? No comment. I don't know what y'all are talking about. Anyway, so some preliminary thoughts. Actually, I'm asked that after we've gone through at least 60 seconds. So share opinions.
Take, for example, like white supremacy. They don't
All right, here we go. Take, for example, white supremacy. All right, let's go.
go away because you censored them.
Are they gonna stop being
Just jumping in there.
I don't give a I do feel safer.
Exists. It's real. It's out here.
Platforms.
Oh, wait, hold on. Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah, I can't see your screen.
Ooh, wow. You've been asking for people to come join your Discord, and you're not ready?
Do you see how she do me, y'all?
Well, I'm out.
It's giving Luna. It's like, you know, this thing happened. Let me go ahead and just jump on his forehead and dance on his grave. Because that's how it is. Is he gonna pause every 2 seconds? No, I'm gonna pause every 1 second, Luna. All right,
No, okay, but it's just like, get it together. You were so excited. If you're excited for something, you want people to join you on something, you gotta be prepared.
You see how Ashley, she's spending more time on this? You know, it's just interesting. I wish I had a lawyer. Anyway, let's get started and jump right on in.
Platforms play.
Can you hear?
No.
No.
God damn it. So I don't know. I still don't know if I have to share a screen or share a specific window.
Probably the whole screen, no?
Yeah, that's what I did, but y'all can hear it.
Oh, I am no scientist, so I can't.
I'm pretty sure it should work either way, right?
Yeah.
See, well, you say that, but after doing this for 18 years, and by 18 years I mean 13 months, that's never been my experience. So let me play it and see what happens.
A big part in facilitating hate.
That's quiet now.
Get it together.
All right, so here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna.
You're using OBS software, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. Not gonna share the screen. Gonna share the actual window. Go live. All right, and now tell me if you hear it.
Twitter specifically
Yes.
Yeah.
has banned
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not what happened last Thursday. Very weird.
Tech platforms
This was filmed
play a big part
February.
in facilitating
Filmed in
hate today.
February. Produced in
Twitter
March
specifically
28th.
has banned a number of different conservative accounts, not just the president.
They can do whatever they want. They're private businesses.
I think that people should be able to say whatever they want online.
I like that she is known as Leah the Liberal.
However, I think that there should also be consequences.
The president of one of the most powerful countries in the world doesn't have access to social media.
I think platforms have a right to moderate content.
We really have to be able to discern who gets a voice and what.
Wait, crap, we have to keep track of who's a liberal and who's not. Damn, I wasn't paying attention.
I don't. We don't.
I think
We never
their
do.
views
They'll
will
keep track of
make
it.
it clear where they stand.
They'll keep track of it throughout the video. They'll stand on opposite sides of the room, and when they sit down and speak, their names and their ideologies will be mentioned on screen.
Okay, cool.
Joseph
cool,
the
cool.
conservative, he has glasses. I have glasses. We're basically the same person.
Yeah, but Jack
Don't
was
even
right.
need
I'm pretty sure
glasses.
they would have. You would kind of guess who is what by what they're saying.
Oh yeah, now there is one of those where you guess the odd person out, where it's like 6 random people in one particular opposite or whatever. But that's a different thing. This is middle ground.
Who has
That's all
experienced
Jubilee, though.
censorship, it ends up generating these chambers in which these ideas go completely unchallenged.
And everybody kind of has to ask themselves, should everybody really be able to say what they want to say?
We brought conservatives and liberals together to spark a dialogue about free speech and deplatforming in the age of social media.
Hi, I'm
progressives?
Leah Thomas. I am a writer and the founder of Intersectional Environmentalists, which is an
Ooh.
online environmental media hub.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm a public policy analyst for San Bernardino County.
Hi, I'm Bennett
That's
Kelly.
interesting.
I'm the founder of the Internet Law Center, and I'm an attorney who represents victims of online harassment.
Ooh, like with the Anti-Defamation League. Also, that policy analyst thing. Now I'll get back to that later.
Cool.
That's interesting, yeah.
I worked with a lot of those
Conservative,
in
and
my
I
last
work in
job.
finance.
Basically, a policy analyst is just a person who works for a particular department or agency. They may be a specialist in that they help administer it. They may be like have administrative works, but they are basically looking at policies that elected officials put in place and seeing if they're working and if so, how well.
My name is Jerome. I'm a political science student. I am 21, and I'm originally from Massachusetts.
Hello, I'm Joseph. I'm an accountant, and I'm working towards my CPA, and I'm a part-time poker player.
Part-time
Such a
poker?
weird bit.
Is
That's wow.
the right is more censored than the left.
Fuck no! I'm sorry. I don't mean to be out here. There are children in here, but let's just go ahead and get something straight. I'm just gonna share my screen with y'all real quick. I have assembled a pretty brief but extensive list of all the times when left-wing ideas or policies have been censored since the 1950s, going back from McCarthyism in the 50s all the way to political correctness in the 90s, the war effort in the 2000s, and then in the 2010s, the stuff we have right now, cancel culture in the 2020s, conspiracy theories over the election and COVID. I have a list. So if you see me looking off screen or something, I just wanted to share that with y'all. If you see me looking off screen, I'm pulling from that. I wrote all of that today, definitely during work, because the right is more censored than the left isn't factual. Absolutely a factual. It is not true, but I am dying to hear what they say.
I mean, we think it's obvious, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming most of us are conservative-ish, in that spectrum, but I think that a lot has happened during the January 6th riots. That's why we see it more, and that's why it's more big of a problem now.
Parler can't even be on the App Store, or Trump got kicked off Twitter.
Good.
He's the leader of the free world, basically, at least for the U.S.
Not anymore.
He doesn't even have access to a social media platform.
Twice impeached.
I think there was Twitter, which was left-leaning, long before there was something like Parler.
Well, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I think that these echo chambers that are created as a result of censorship are a reaction. They're reactionary. They're not necessarily, they wouldn't exist by themselves if right-leaning people weren't being censored.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about that? His argument that right-wing right-leaning social media platforms were created as a response to already being censored beforehand?
I think, though, personally, I think it's just like it depends on how you see it. Personally, I think conservatives will feel like they're being quote unquote oppressed and silenced and whatnot when they might not be. Obviously, I am a little bit, not a little bit, a lot, very left leaning. So, you know, I'm surrounded by the media that I want to be surrounded with. So it's like I can't really give like a good, accurate answer per se if I want to be very neutral. I feel like with topics like this, it's very hard to be neutral in general because people get really fired up over stuff like this. So,
which I won't say is a bad thing. I think it's perfectly fine to become passionate about a lot of issues, but especially this.
I think I can see how right-leaning people will see Twitter, a platform that posits itself as open to an international audience, how they can feel like they are being silenced on that platform in particular, as opposed to like social media platforms like 4chan, where those viewpoints are very open and accounted for, but like 4chan doesn't brand itself as being a general audience platform.
And you're saying 4chan would be one of those right-leaning platforms you're referring to?
I'm not saying that it's in itself is right-leaning, but it has a history of being a hub for right-leaning opinion and hate groups to manifest. It doesn't, because it's not as profitable. It's not like what advertisers and marketers are looking towards as a place where they can reach their target audience. That's why people who get booted off of Twitter feel as though they're being silenced, because they can't reach an audience that they can market to.
I see what you're saying. Phil, do you have any opinions on this particular question?
Repeat the question. Was it that that these sites were created as a result of people being censored on like regular sites?
Yeah, and the idea that places like Parler were invented as a reaction to right-leaning ideas being already censored.
I mean, without knowing like the actual like history of how this stuff was created, I would say I could see a world where that is probably true.
Fascinating. I'm going to agree with all of your conclusions, but disagree on how we got there. I don't think that Parler and other sites like that, I think they exist as a reaction to Twitter. I don't think they exist as a reaction to being censored on places like Twitter. And I do believe the founders and the people on there would tell you things like that. But I don't agree that the censoring of those ideas, a lot of those ideas, were actually happening that caused the people that are on Parler to feel like they needed Parler. And what do I mean by that? Basically what I'm saying is that a lot of the ideas outside of the literal extremism that is shared on places like Parler, those are the same ideas that you could find on Twitter. Twitter is notoriously more left-leaning in general than a lot of other social media platforms. However, that does not mean that those right-leaning ideas are being censored. What it means is that they're unpopular in this particular space. Twitter famously is popular for things like Black Twitter or Queer Twitter or Twitter from a lot of other generally left-leaning demographics and populations. I don't think that the things that they were saying on Parler, except for the things that got them literally kicked off the App Store, they weren't being policed by Twitter on Twitter. They were just unpopular. So then when you got on Twitter and you just said all of your most controversial opinions to the internet, and then people jumped down your throat saying you literally are racist, that's not censorship. That is them responding to free speech with free speech. And therefore, when they felt uncomfortable on those sites, they went somewhere else. For example, I go on Facebook. Oh my goodness. Oh, Facebook is literally the inverse of what I see on Twitter. I get on Twitter, I feel comfortable, I feel heard, I feel listened to. I get on Facebook, I feel attacked. I feel discriminated against, because it's a lot of people that I went to school and church with, way back in Macon, Georgia. And so it's just entirely different atmosphere. And so your opinions can find a place online, but I think that what this man is saying is that he's confusing people using free speech to respond to free speech with actual censorship.
Hear about that way.
Yeah.
Hello, Luna. So nice to have you.
Hello.
All right. We're gonna press plickety play.
I guess I disagree because usually when I think of conservatives, I
like her hair.
You think of the party of law and order. So that was definitely something that Trump spoke about often, like there are consequences to your actions. Maybe more people could read the terms and conditions and find a platform that they feel more comfortable with. Like,
real quick, I feel like he's about to interrupt her, and I want to smack him for that. You can see his lips moving, and it just makes me upset. But I'm not gonna. I don't want to jump the gun. I'm not gonna just automatically be upset with this guy. I'm really bad at that. However, I will say this though. I completely agree with her about the terms and conditions. The Republican Party for generations has been the party of law and order and has been on the side of the authorities. It's interesting that they're saying the authorities are against them when they are the authorities. That's all I gotta say.
Sure.
Parler, 4chan.
But what Trump said wasn't
4chan.
really as bad as what I've seen other Democrats say.
Well, I guess to not deflect, what should be the appropriate consequences when someone violates the terms and conditions?
I think it should be like fair punishment, right? It shouldn't be a punishment, like especially for like being kicked off. It should be for everybody. Yeah. But if that is the solution, that has to be the solution for everyone.
So No Name, Sean King are two of the most prominent left-leaning activists that I know of. And they have been repeatedly banned from Twitter, suspended from Facebook, Instagram kicked them off. And then when it happens to Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, we hear conservative voices are being, but it's the exact same thing that was happening on the left that's now happening on the right. So I think the problem is the conservative, I don't see you, the conservatives that believe this rhetoric is being suppressed, I don't think they know the other side is dealing with the same thing.
There's no real history of which I'm aware of left-leaning creators being blacklisted.
Stop right there.
Wow.
Time to go to the handy dandy notebook. Go ahead.
It really was the way he said it too. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not sure, like in my knowledge that I don't think that's true. He was like, no, actually, in my knowledge of all of whatever, I'm like, okay, chill. Like,
He's voicing his opinion as a position of authority.
What you're saying is valuable.
He was saying like, you're wrong. You're really wrong. Instead of like, let's discuss and see where we do not see eye to eye.
It's also interesting that this guy gave him 2 examples of people being blacklisted, and he's saying, well, there are no examples that I can pull from of people being blacklisted. You have 2 now.
Exactly. He literally just...
You have
it's like, obviously you don't know about them if they're not in your circle, so like, obviously you're not going to know about them.
Exactly.
Like, you have 2 more now than you had 17 seconds ago. So you're lying. Were you lying then or before, sir? I'm sorry.
It's not really a lying. It's more baseless. Like, you're just trying to prove a point without a good argument.
Oh, Luna, you changed your thing. That's really interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like I call him lying because he's saying, "Oh, it's never did it," and it's like, but you're lying now because now you do have those options. You do have those examples. They were just provided to you, for the free 99. But anyway, let me go ahead and I'm gonna just pop off real quick. Let me just go ahead and give y'all some real quick example. Let's go back to.
It's not gonna be quick.
It's not going to be quick. This is going to be the rest of the night. Let's go back to, I don't know, what is it? 1950s United States history. Have y'all ever heard of the Red Scare? What about McCarthyism, perhaps? Named after U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy of Wisconsin. Because in McCarthyism, for those who don't know, for non-Americans, McCarthyism was a period of the United States history during the 50s where members of Hollywood especially, but all over the country, were people who were suspected of being Marxist or communist, were irrevocably had their careers ended or had their livelihood taken away from them or were jailed because they were suspected of being Marxist. So if I were to make a movie that was like, I don't know. Let's just say literally anything. If take any movie you want right now, and I'll spin it. Go ahead. Somebody name a movie. Let's just hope I seen it.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. Thank you so much. So now listen to me, Luna. If I were to say something along the lines of, I made Jurassic Park, but Jurassic Park was released in 1952, how would we spin this as McCarthyist? Let's just say I'm the director, right? I'm the screenwriter. They would put me in jail and say, look here, Astral, if you really dissect this piece of cinema magic, what it really tells the story of is how man is more powerful than God. Because a simple human being was able to create life that had already gone extinct. And when you really think about it, that's very anti-Christian. And not only is it anti-Christian, it's borderline Marxist and communist, because now you're spreading this atheist ideology. And so I end up in prison, or maybe even worse, unemployed. Listen to me. And you're telling me that you don't have any history to pull from? Sir, you don't know about this? This was the biggest freaking thing. I mean, people like Humphrey Bogart. I mean,
Okay. We should press play.
All I'm going to say is McCarthyism happened. The Red Scare happened. Neighbors told on neighbors. It was a literal surveillance state. People went to jail. People lost their jobs for being literally left-leaning, even when they weren't. And this guy is trying to tell us that there exists no examples. You are a liar. You are a fool.
Maybe he just doesn't know.
Maybe he dumb, like real dumb.
He's
stupid or very ignorant.
You can't lie if you don't know the information.
All the reason I'm saying he's lying is because he just had 2 examples, and therefore he's saying he has no examples. In court, that is a lie.
He's being stubborn. The thing is, if you're gonna not quote unquote argue, but argue with somebody, why are you gonna take their argument? You gotta use your own argument. You know what I mean?
Because that's a good debate strategy. If someone presents you with an argument,
people know good debate strategies.
I would hope if they're studying political science, and they want to come on this argument. If they
He's in school for that.
If you want to come on this platform and sit in that chair and debate with somebody else and share a dialogue, then you should be able to take whatever argument someone gives you and flip it to work for you. That's just basic conversation. But the fact that he will be told, hey, Jock, take your pizza out the oven. But the fact that this guy was given 2 examples and then saying,
that shit burnt.
if this guy is given 2 examples in his face and he responds with there are no examples, that is a bold-faced lie, because it doesn't even matter if you know about those examples or not. They were just presented to you. So to say that they aren't, I mean, in court, that is a factual lie. We've already entered those facts into evidence. You can't say there are no examples. They're out there now. So stupid or dumb, I'm pressing play.
Jones, James Woods, Donald Trump have been.
Yeah.
James Woods is evil.
Alex Jones was on this journalistic scene for 30 years, and they erased all 30 years of that.
How about the White House YouTube channel? They eliminated all of Trump's videos, all of them.
Do you not see the difference though? Because Sean King says abolish the police, and say Alex Jones, for example.
Give me info. Would like to mention, just gonna say this, that's a very white man moving conversations, and it's exhausting. Conversation automatically shut down. You're absolutely right, and I completely agree with you. And while we're on the conversation of Alex Jones, Phil, I hate you for sending me that. Alex Jones said he would eat his neighbors to save his daughters. That's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna press play.
Says Jewish people own most of the property in America, and if you want to deal with property owners, deal primarily with Jewish people in 2015. So obviously there's a stark difference in rhetoric and consequence even. You call the virus Kung Flu, and then a rise in violence against Asian Americans.
But who called it Kung Flu?
President Trump.
Did he say it directly though?
Yes.
Oh my God!
Did he say it directly though?
Let me take my glasses off, because this.
Wait.
Who said that? Who said that?
Trump. Oh wait, which
Yeah,
person here?
I meant in the who said, oh, did he say that directly?
How about we investigate? Let me get you that.
Kung Flu.
President Trump.
Did
This
he
guy.
say it directly though?
Yeah.
All right, remember how I said?
Oh my God.
You can't see. The thing is, that negates everything that you're saying, because obviously you're not paying enough attention, or you're using your white privilege and you don't give a shit, and that never bothered you. So it's like whatever. It was never an issue for you, like, because. Oof.
Go ahead. Yeah, remember how I was saying like I want to give this guy, or how I want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt.
What does that sound?
That's not the one. I'm playing a video about Trump.
Somebody yelling?
No, so I'm playing a video of Trump. This is where he says Kung Flu, so people in the audience know that he's saying it.
Oh, I thought somebody was yelling outside your window at home. I'm about to be like, maybe you should investigate.
My apologies. Okay. Here, talking about the Chinese virus. Yeah.
And with testing.
Testing.
Testing. It's a double-edged sword.
Okay, here we go.
We've tested now 25 million people.
But I thought it didn't exist. Let me keep going.
It's probably 20 million people more than anybody else. Germany's done a lot. South Korea's done a lot. They told me, they said the job you're doing. Here's the bad part.
Anybody said that.
When you do testing to that extent, you're gonna find more people. You're gonna find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
First off, imagine how unethical it is.
Sense. Like, I just common sense. Like, obviously, of course, you can't be proud of your low numbers if you only tested 5 people.
Factual
like,
statement.
that's such a bad statistical sample.
Yeah, man, my room is really clean if you never turn the lights on. Like, I just want to say, and from the perspective, like, every time Trump is the reason why these things exist. You see these everywhere you look for COVID on the internet. You have these little disclaimers saying, if you want more information, please learn more here, click here. That stuff is on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on Google. He is a massive reason why that exists, because this man adopted as domestic policy to test fewer people so that it would look better for him politically. Over 500,000 people died. And one of the ways that you keep people from dying is to know where the virus is. And you only know where the virus is if you test people. He adopted, allegedly, on his own account, to stop testing people, or test people more slowly, mind you, so that it would help him politically. And you're wondering why this man was deplatformed? I mean, it took 4 damn years. It took an attack on the Capitol for it to happen. But you're wondering why you have to find this pandemic. Literally, I'm talking about.
It took a whole ass pandemic too. Like, people are like, "Oh no, that's just Trump being Trump." I'm like, "No, you like, this is a little serious."
And you have to ask. You have to really have to ask yourself: did it take a pandemic? Because the pandemic isn't even what did it. We were in a pandemic for a year before January 6th happened, and then they finally banned his account. This man is admitting at his own rally, to help my political numbers, to make me look better in the press, I told my people, don't test COVID that fast. Fast forward a few months later, 500,000 people have died. Are you kidding? And y'all are wondering? We'll get back to the video. Let's just finish this one thing real quick, because I want to hear him say it. Come on, man.
Don't know what's going on. Minneapolis, you see what's going on? I'm not kidding.
Mel said your gas tank ain't empty if you don't check the gas light. Now, you know who you sound like. Every last one of my uncles. I know my car.
They'll have a lot of problems. Hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Why is he yelling?
And a very tough.
I think he thinks it's his job.
A very tough hombre.
Tough hombre? Oh my.
Is breaking into the window.
Oh my.
Of a young woman whose husband is away as a traveling salesman or whatever he may do.
Real quick, I don't think he has a script here. I think he's freeballing this one.
By the way, it's a disease, without question, has more names than any disease in history. I can name Kung Flu.
There we go. Got him.
There it is.
Got him, boys. All right, let's press play, because what in the hell? Hello, Insomnia.
Very direct.
He tweeted it, yeah.
He tweeted
it.
it.
Said it.
Oh, you bitch! I'm sorry.
There are reasons for the differences and consequences, but I think if we understand that it's happening widespread, because I've seen people on the left say kill cops, permanently banned, permanently like done.
Right.
So I think we have to take a step back, remove ourselves from the box that we're in, and kind of, okay, is it happening over here too?
There's ideas that exist on and offline that are abominable.
He's about to talk about white supremacy.
I disavow unequivocally, but that I subscribed to when I was younger. You know, when I was younger, didn't understand what I was necessarily looking at, didn't have enough worldview or perspective to know that these were not good ideas.
That's nice.
But because that they were censored by the forums that I was espousing them in, I never had the opportunity to have them challenged. I would never have the opportunity.
But you could argue if they were censored, you never would have come in contact with them in the first place. Like, I'm not going to get trapped in a conservative rabbit hole on Parler if I can't get Parler on my phone.
His argument doesn't make any sense. So he's saying whatever bad topics he grew up seeing, he couldn't see them because they're banned?
He's like, I'm going to break the law if there are no consequences. I'm going to slap people unless someone slaps me back. I'm going to be a white supremacist unless, if I'm allowed to be a white supremacist online, that's your invitation to come and tell me that I shouldn't be a white supremacist. That's basically the argument he's making, when in reality, maybe he never would have been a white supremacist if he hadn't been exposed to white supremacy.
That's so stupid because, like, on Facebook, Twitter, probably even MySpace, you friend people or you follow people. So obviously, like, if you never went out of your way to follow, if you're right-leaning and you never went out of your ways to follow left-leaning things, then, like, yeah, you're never gonna know.
I agree entirely.
This doesn't make any sense.
Anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, no.
All right, let's hit him with it.
To have a conversation about why these were bad ideas.
This man's face.
There was no purveyance of the ideological free market, and that's really the only way for these ideas to go away. Take, for example, like white supremacy. People who have those beliefs, those beliefs don't go away when you ban them from platforms. Those beliefs don't go away when you...
But they don't spread. Let me stop.
Tell them to shut up. Those beliefs don't go away when you punch them in the face, you know, or when you revoke their rally permits.
But when do we draw the line? Because if somebody, let's use Kung Flu, for example, what I said earlier. Let's say it's Alex Jones that says, oh, this is a Chinese virus. They brought it here. And then we see a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans. When do we draw the line? Because he would still have the platform.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should deprive the people who are actually committing these crimes of the agency in committing them.
Right.
Wait, pause. What does that mean?
He
said,
said,
what does he mean by that?
He said, I don't think we should deprive the people committing these crimes of the agency to commit them, which sounds like he's saying we should allow them to do it. But let's hear it one more time.
That does sound like that.
Let's hear
That's exactly what it sounds like.
As my uncle would say, run that back, youngin. All right.
Stop.
Let me turn. The closed captions are on, so let's let's investigate.
When do we draw the line? Because he would still have the platform.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should deprive the people who are actually committing...
I don't think we should deprive the people who are actually committing these
crimes of the agency in committing them.
Of the agency in committing them, not the agency to commit them. Okay. I see.
Hold on, let me Google what agency means.
Agency means free will. A person with agency is a person who is in control of their own body and actions in general. And so what I'm inferring that he's saying is that we should not, when people commit these crimes at the behest of these ideologies, we should understand that they did them because they chose to do them. We shouldn't remove from these people their choices to break the law and commit acts of violence. And on that note, I agree. Huh?
Wait.
I think we should.
You should remove them. I'm thinking he's coming at this from accountability aspect. Is that, like, if you broke the law, we should see you as someone who chose to break the law.
Oh, that's what he's saying?
That's what I think he's saying, which is why I think this guy is agreeing.
I don't give him the benefit of the doubt like that, but... Okay.
I mean, if it's about free will, if agency basically is free will, then that makes sense.
Yeah. And so he's saying, I don't think we should not deprive people who have committed these crimes. Back up.
The platform.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should deprive the people who are actually committing these crimes of the agency in committing them.
Yes. So people who break the law should have the agency in their unlawful action. They should have the free will in their unlawful action. Not the agency to commit the crime, but the agency of the fact that they committed it. Therefore, we can hold them accountable because it was their decision. Let's see how he explains this.
Right.
You know, like, they are doing that, and they frankly would be doing that regardless of whether or not there was somebody who was using inflammatory rhetoric online. That's exactly my point when I say these ideas don't go away. And then you feed those ideas, you build the anger.
So, for example, if you ban a white supremacist or a huge white supremacist group from Twitter, there are still probably going to be white supremacists chilling and hanging out outside of Twitter.
Right.
But it would be harder for that white supremacist group on that platform to inflict harm towards black folks, right? Because then I do feel safer. So if I'm being harassed by a white supremacist group or someone who's saying that black people don't deserve to live, I do feel safer as a user. Are they going to stop being a white supremacist? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. That's their free speech. However, it does make me feel a lot safer.
I just think the left is now catching more up to us and realizing that the censorship is happening. And
I know this is a heavily moderated thing, but this is actually a lot calmer than I expected it to be.
Isn't it? Like,
yeah,
no,
a little too calm.
Now,
yeah,
it's a 30-minute video. We're 7 minutes in. I just know for a fact I would not be invited here. If I auditioned for this and there was like, you see here, Astral, you know, you say some interesting things every other month or so. That's regularity enough for us. However, we've seen the way you speak. Don't come to LA. We can't have you here. You are a risk.
You want to break before the first word goes out?
Listen, man.
Exactly.
Or Raphael or not.
Ain't enough insurance in this world. I'm just saying, Mel wants to know who invited this guy. Look, man, Satan
I have to write you down as a liability.
Like, look, if he breaks something or if he himself gets broken, I have to sign a waiver before I get on this show. So let's just hear what this guy has to say. Let's call him Todd. I don't know what his real name is.
And now it's kind of touching their side too more, and maybe with Sean King, you see it. You know, I've definitely seen it pick up more in the past few months on both sides.
With the left, it's, the example I gave was from 2014.
I know. But
also,
I know. No,
I know my ass.
He really did not know. He literally didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention, y'all, let's go to what, 1968, when they shot Dr. King for saying something that was pretty unpopular, and he's saying, look, man, these last 3 weeks, I don't know, the liberals might have something on their conscience. Negro, you ain't even a Negro. Listen, man, go ahead, Ashley. You saying some things that I feel like are important.
Oh, no. I also wanted to say, but you kept talking, and I was like, okay. If you were in this conversation, I feel like somehow you'll pull out a book with the exact reference and proof of what you're talking about, and then tell them this is why you're wrong, and smack the paper.
I may not have a book because it may be too large to fit in my pocket, but I definitely would have a rolled up essay that I had prepared the night before that I have made.
They would probably still say, I haven't seen any evidence of that.
Yeah, they probably would, yeah. They'd look directly at it and be like, I'm not going to read that.
Bro, what was that happened in college? I don't agree with that, so no. Oh, wait, I didn't tell y'all. Okay.
When was that? Yeah.
So it may have been senior year. So it's probably 2018, 2019, one of those years. For those who don't know, in the chat, I founded and ran a mentorship program for minority students at a local high school when I was in college, right? And I was doing some recruitment one day, and this white girl came up to me and asked me, he was like, what just happened? Oh, thank you for our Earth is not a globe. Interesting. Well, thank you for the follow regardless. I'll not respond to that. Also, I feel like, and so basically what happened was, I asked her, I was like, hey, would you be interested in joining this unnamed organization? And she was like, what does this unnamed organization do? And I was like, yada, yada, yada. We help minority students, local high schools, so on and so forth. And she was like, why do you only help minority students? And then I explained it to her, which I feel like I don't have to explain to this crowd, but I explained to her why we serve minority students primarily. And then she was like, well, I don't agree with that, so no. And that became such a meme for me, Phil, Jock, and Lorenzo, and Abby for like 3 years. Phil still says it to this day. And this is what we're getting at. The I don't agree with that, so no crowd is her. That's what's going on here. Also, I feel like only the left has sources and mentions sources examples. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Anchovies. Well, I will give credit to a lot of journalists, a lot of popular journalists on the right. They have done a very good job of collecting, circumstantial evidence, where you could argue all evidence is circumstantial in some way. But I will argue, I would have a hard time arguing with, you know, a lot of these people, maybe not Ben Shapiro, but like maybe a Candace Owens, because she's really good, or Tomi Lahren, she's really good at like nitpicking very specific examples because she is a journalist, so she keeps her nose to the news constantly. I do that as well, but it's like when somebody has a laundry list of evidence, it really doesn't even matter how good the evidence is. If they have a lot of it, it makes it seem like it's more valid. If I was a white boy moved to Africa, I'll become a minority. Do you think they would serve my needs over there, and still we need a black president, multiple black sports people? I don't know what you're saying about the black president, black sports people. I may get to that later. But if you're a white person and you move to Africa, are you assuming that every nation in Africa is majority black? Africa's not a country.
A wild assumption, my guy.
It is. Also, Africa's not a country. Are you referring to a specific population in general? If so, we can look up that population. But you're saying if you are a white person and you entered into a black population, a majority black population, and you yourself became a minority, yes, you would be the minority there. So what are you saying? Do you think they would serve my needs over there? Over there is in Africa? If you are a minority, are you saying would they serve your needs? Well, because if you're just going with the example of of Africa, hell yes. The reason that I am literally sitting in this chair in the United States is because white European powers colonized and raped Africa and then forcibly removed people from there, or, you know, with the help of people that were living in there, took slaves and brought them over here several hundred years later. I don't have a country to call my own outside the United States. I'll never know my national lineage or heritage. So yes, even if you're white, you being in the minority does not mean you're the disadvantaged population. It just means you're literally the minority. In the United States, they go hand in hand. In Africa, that's not necessarily the case when you understand that the history of Africa for the last 500 years has been the colonialization and basically the discrimination against, you know, people who are born in Africa, people of darker skin, by people with white skin. So like, yeah, you being the minority does not mean you're gonna have a worse time. Let me see.
Especially if you go over there with money. Like if you're already well off, you're already in a higher class, depending on the area and population you get into.
Jews were the majority of owners of the ships that brought slaves to America, and also the slave owners. You should fact check that, and if you find the fact, please send us the link. I'm happy to entertain that. However, what's your point on that? Our Earth is not a globe. The fact that the Jews were the owners of those ships. What are you saying about that exactly? Also, I'm gonna press play.
Like an anti-Semitism.
It does indeed.
It's been around for a while, even when you're looking at the civil rights movement and you're looking at the literal burning down of civil rights headquarters and things like that. My parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents in the civil rights movement were continuously policed and harassed for their beliefs, violently so, jailed for their beliefs. So I find it almost...
She has such a calm voice.
When civil rights folks are being imprisoned.
I agree, and I feel like it's because she's been taught her entire life that she has to be, or she's the crazy black woman in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was just, this came from lovingness and innocentness. I mean, I totally get it too, but also I'm sleepy, so I'm just like, how soothing.
You didn't say anything wrong. You didn't say anything wrong. I'm just letting you know that, like, her being this calm, especially, I mean, her and the black guy next to her, them being calm is not an accident. It is something that a lot of them have to be. If you want to think back to the vice presidential debate between Mike Pence and the current Vice President Kamala Harris, so much of what she had to do was not yell because she would have been the crazy black lady.
Yeah, so much of rhetoric has to do with the image you present.
I agree.
And killed for their beliefs. However, because a conservative can't use Twitter, I'm supposed to feel bad.
Well, I don't think there's a comparison. What I wonder is whether or not there is a leftist ideologue, someone who is similar to Alex Jones or someone like that.
Why does this guy have to use all these big words? I'm like, can you just not?
I agree. An ideologue is basically a person who is like an icon of a certain ideology. Like if I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, Dr. King, he's really easy to pull from. If you want an ideologue of equality, economic sustainability, of economic justice, things like that. The ideas that he stood for is that people in the United States are oppressed through no fault of their own, and they should be lifted out of that oppression, usually through economic means of justice. He would be an ideologue for that type of idea. And so he's talking about, is there an ideologue on the left? I don't know what the sentence is about to be, but yeah, that's what he's talking about.
It was blackballed from 6 social media platforms over the course of 12 hours.
Who? On the left, it doesn't really happen at all. Look at what they admonish, like abolish police, give everybody health care. Like, what in that world, what in that realm would be like, you're done. You don't need to, you're talking about killing people.
So we're saying burn it all down this summer during the riots.
Buildings, but that's not,
but that's still people's property. They build it, they save their whole savings. $2 billion damages as a country.
I hope someone pulls up Tulsa.
Violence is bad.
Do it on 100th anniversary.
Stuff is bad.
I think we need to give perspective to it. Yeah, it has to be context.
Too.
Yeah, because we can't say burning buildings is bad and then not understand the reason as to why they're burning. I don't agree with burning them, but we kind of got to give context to both. We can't just say this is all terrible.
I don't want to be anecdotal about this, but at the same time, my parents are immigrants.
I'm going
they
to
work
fight.
for everything that they have. My mom, she came from a family of 6. And
That's true.
they didn't have a lot when they came to this
you.
country. And each of their siblings, including my mom, they had to work for everything that they have.
Right.
And they made something of themselves. So and then we also have rental properties. So if one of them burned down because of a riot.
Well, that's what you have insurance for, no? Well, I mean, I guess the issue, it's okay for major corporations, of course, but I think you can't really argue that if you're a small business or you have multiple rental properties. But also, at that point, wouldn't you have enough good insurance for all of that, though?
No, I
would
agree.
hope so.
And my problem is that people who make this argument, and I believe everything he's saying, I believe that him being a first or second generation immigrant, he and his family have worked hard for what they have, and that's wonderful, and it should be protected because they earned it. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. My argument is that they always center that argument as if the overwhelming prevailing argument in response is that we want to burn stuff down. No. We're not coming out on the street saying we need to burn this because this is how we want to respond. You shouldn't have your stuff burnt down, but I'm not going to center your story of having your building burnt down over the story of someone who lost their life. Both can be bad. You don't have to pit them against each other. And that's always the problem.
They don't understand that also, half of these riots, when it got really bad, it wasn't even because of the people who were actually peacefully protesting.
Not to mention that, I can't remember what was the NPR, over 90%, I believe it was 93%, 93 or 95% of all the protests that happened, during the racial reckoning of 2020 is what we're calling it now, were peaceful. And most of the ones that became violent, they became violent because the police made them violent. Whereas people were peacefully walking down the street, but it was after curfew, and then they started to shoot people with rubber bullets. Literally, people lost their eyes, some people their limbs, some people their lives, and spray them with tear gas. So it's people are peacefully protesting, even if it's unlawful, because it's after curfew, so they literally just can't be outside at night. And then they will get attacked by the police. I mean, the one that happened in Atlanta, the couple, breaks my heart to watch it. I don't even want to show it to y'all here, but basically they're trying to get home in Atlanta. There's a curfew and there's a protest, riot, whatever you want to call it. There's some civil disturbances happening at night. They can't get, because the traffic is in gridlock because it's in the middle of a curfew. What do the police do? They come up, stab their tires, tase them, break their windows, and drag them out. They want a settlement. I don't know how much money they want. I have to look that up so I can give you the specific numbers. They want a settlement, obviously, because if you see that video, it literally looks like they're I'm just being beaten by the police while they're on the way to get home to follow the law. When especially this stuff happens when you set the curfew on the day the curfew is supposed to be enforced. People are already out doing their thing, having their plans. They can't just pick up and go at night. So then they stab their wheels, pop their tires, so now they can't leave. That's entrapment. They're literally forcing them to break the law now.
Yeah, exactly. It's you set them up, so obviously this doesn't help your side. Of course there's always bad bunches or bad apples in a bunch, whatever the fuck, but this is not helping your case.
Exactly.
I don't understand why people couldn't understand that. you know? Because like at that time either nobody really posted any great videos of police doing great things or whatever. We've seen so many bad things that these people who are supposed to protect us weren't protecting us but directly hurting us. So it's like, well, at this point, fuck the police. What am like, you know?
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and drop I dropped it in the chat, but I'll go ahead and drop it in the Discord as well, in the discourse channel. Exactly what article, what video I'm talking about. 2 cops fired after college students violently arrested. Like, watch the video in your own time. Watch it here if you want to. I feel very uncomfortable showing it. It is pretty traumatic. That said, though, it's important that people know what happened. And then even Mel is right here saying in her hometown, cops were also blocking people in to prevent them from leaving. And where are you from? I think she's from Florida. So like, yeah, like look, nobody's saying you deserve to have your building burnt down. You deserve to lose your livelihood. Target should rot in hell. I mean, maybe Target. I'm not saying, I don't know. I kind of like Target. All I'm saying is, look, no one's saying that you deserve to have your building burnt down, but look at what you're comparing that to. You're literally saying, I'm literally saying, hey man, somebody died and they should not have died, and you're responding with, but what about my problems? You have problems too. They can be 2 separate conversations. They can both be a problem, but you don't go to the people who lost their life and tell them I lost my building.
Right, and the other thing, people were being upset about Target getting like not attacked, but what's the word?
Looted.
Looted, yeah. They got mad at like
I love that word.
They got mad at like Target and Sephora getting like looted. And I'm like, at this point, these major big companies will be fine. They can probably deduct it as some type of loss. It's not that big of a deal. But like, for me, I draw the line at like, you know, smaller businesses, but I'm like, you are making a big deal for no reason. Like, oh my God, you can't go to this one Target that's 5 minutes away from you. Go to another one. Shit. Like, you can drive, right?
Yeah. Protect your business. You know, small businesses, those should be protected. And, you know, that's wonderful. And do that. And I don't want people burning it down. But there is a time and place for everything. And I just feel like they get it wrong every time.
Exactly.
That's all I gotta say.
That's our life savings right there. We put a lot of money into that.
Do you know, so I guess let's take it back to the civil rights movement, because usually I think the future sometimes is a better indicator of what's like morally right and wrong. I lived about 10 minutes from Ferguson and was there when those buildings were burning down, and it was incredibly terrifying. But I also remember the business owners who said, I can replace my windows. What I can't replace is a lost child. So hearing those business owners, hearing them, I can talk about them hypothetically and how I hypothetically think they might feel, but I also can talk about people who had their own buildings burned down.
You know, and people who do say that they're on like, you know, the Black Lives Matter side, of course.
Not necessarily. A lot of them are white.
But at the same time, you know, like I go back to business because, you know, I'm an accountant, you know, I care about the numbers and all that stuff. But
and I care about Black lives. I care about lives.
Oh wow!
Exactly.
Hashtag uproar. Hashtag uproar.
You care about the numbers, but hello,
Get on his ass, Ashley. Get on his ass. I know this Joker did not say, I'm an accountant, I care about the numbers. How cold, how callous, how calculating, how foolish. Not to this woman you didn't say that. Not to her. Boy! Hold on, let me see what he got to say after that. Hold on.
Yeah, y'all care about Black lives.
I gotta hear this.
There we go. So, okay, first off, literally the only response, the only response that she could have given was what she did, and she did it perfectly. Go ahead and clap for this woman. That's wonderful. However, here's my thing. I know you going to people and telling them these people are sad, they lost lives. And he's like, well, I'm an accountant, so really, how much is a life worth? Let me consult my alchemical books and see what it takes to build another human body. What is it? Saltpeter's and carbon?
Well, I would like to note too, that's not in our line of business. Honestly, we like looking at, if you're an actuary, then that might make sense because you're in insurance and, you know, life insurance, sure. But as an accountant, that does not make any sense, and that's a very invalid point. He's just being selfish. He's saying, I was worried about my own property because that's my money on the line, not lives. Also, like we mentioned before, if you had proper insurance, you would be fine. Because I'm sure that there was something, if you know, care so much about your shit, I'm sure you would have gotten the right insurance to make sure that if anything happens, you are insured. So, like, this angers me so much because it's like, really?
I agree with you. Phil,
There's
I
a
hear
lot
your
of
voice.
that you can.
No, yeah. I don't say
go
anything.
ahead,
I
Ashley.
agree with what you said. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, not to mention, there's a lot of things that you can deduct as a business expense, and I don't know why you're so worried about your rental properties, but you know, I, I don't know. Maybe he didn't pass the tax portion yet. Who knows? But
Call him out.
I was just about to say, by your shit burn now, you got to pay taxes that year, but you in the goal. But I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Do not take my advice. Jesus Christ. That will get us both in jail. Anyway, Mel, you're asking, where did the Jew say his parents were from? I don't know. I don't think he mentioned it. He mentioned that he's an immigrant, but I don't think he mentioned the nation of origin.
I didn't hear it either.
But numbers trump Black lives? Woo, bitch. All right. So he's about to say, he just said, yeah, we all care about Black lives. But do you really, Todd?
you really, like, you wouldn't have brought up that argument if you really cared about Black lives.
Somebody died. He's like, but let me not say what I was going to say. Let me stop.
I don't care about the numbers and all that stuff, but
And I care about Black lives.
All
I
right,
care
but
about lives.
we all care about Black lives, but also too.
Do
like,
we,
a lot
Todd?
of misinformation was spread
Do
about
we?
these riots too, with the hands up, don't shoot. They said that he was facing backwards, and they found out that he wasn't, and he didn't have his hands up.
You talking about last year? Or?
No,
talking about Michael Brown. That's what started this.
Yeah.
Let's just not
Well,
get
then
into
they're
that.
spreading the misinformation, and then it also.
And also, if you'd like to have the perspective, so I was there that day,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and we can talk about censorship. So after he was killed, he was on the ground for 4 hours. Our radio stations were turned off, and our news stations were turned off. So we didn't have information as to what was going on, which I
So you
agree
don't like the
allowed misinformation to spread.
Exactly.
However,
Oh
to
my
say
God!
that, so no, I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm saying
This is
maybe
so
like know
angry.
what the people
Did you
in that
hear what he
community were
said?
faced
You
with
agree
before
with the censorship? Oh my God, that's not her point.
We're going to drop kick
No,
him.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. The censorship of those radio stations is awful, and I think it contributed to a lot of.
He must be a libertarian.
Misinformation.
Not
That's why
not just
people flock
misinformation.
to- Who,
but
the 21-year-old in the
pain
middle?
and destruction that happened within those communities because people weren't being given the information they were entitled to.
Yeah.
You know, I think that in itself is an argument against censorship for sure.
Tech companies
He
should be
redirected her
allowed to
narrative.
ban whoever they want.
Bro, fedoras. Mel, you crazy. Okay, tech companies should be allowed to ban whoever they want.
Well, I will say this. If you're private, then, like, you have free reign to do whatever the fuck you want. If you're a governmental entity or a public entity, well, government, then, you know, probably not, because free speech. But for private, you know, yeah.
I'll go ahead and share my opinion on this. People have a lot of rights. You have the rights to do a lot of things in this country. Should you, though? That's something that a lot of people should discuss. For example, going back to my notes here. All right, because now we got some real good stuff. So let's go to the war effort in the early 2000s, right? This is after 9/11. Bush is president. He has an approval rating as high as 92%. Unheard of. That does not happen. Most presidents have an approval rating around 40-something for the majority of their presidency. This man's sitting at 92 at the highest, averages around 70 to 90 in the months and years after 9/11. People, it doesn't matter if they love him. Whatever he does, whatever his administration does, they agree with him, right? Okay. It fell during the economic crisis, but that's literally that's in his second term, all right? Media networks can broadcast whatever they want. That's true. But should they? Let me give you an example. Clear Channel Communication. Matter of fact, I'll even give you the article that I'm referring to if y'all want to look here on my screen. 164 songs that were banned from American radio after 9/11. 164 songs that were banned. Like Imagine by John Lennon. Imagine by John Lennon because they conflicted with the war effort. Now, as a counter argument, Snopes says that these weren't banned by Clear Channel. There was a list of things that might be considered insensitive, and then the radio stations themselves had the authority to choose whether or not they want to play them. Is that censorship? Is it people exercising their right? I'll allow you to decide. A big example, the one that me and Mel and even Luna were talking about before the stream, is the Dixie Chicks. Well, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, but they're known as the Chicks now. The most successful female music group in history at the time that this happened in 2003, right? Publicly denounced Bush at one of their concerts, and their careers almost ended, is what happened. They didn't say F Bush, he's not my president, we want to kill him or whatever. No, what they said was, Bush embarrasses, I'm embarrassed that Bush is from Texas. We're on the side of you, not on the side of the war. That's basically what they said. Please look up exactly what they said if you want to hear verbatim what it is that they said. It was misrepresented in the news media literally up until tonight. You know, the ACLU, as a matter of fact, published a list of hate crimes and acts of censorship that happened in post 9/11 USA. There were hundreds of these incidents. I'll put all of these links in the chat and in the Discord if y'all want to look at them. As a matter of fact, in October 2001, Pennsylvania House of Representatives passed a bill 200 to 1 to mandate the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance for all children in schools unless permission was given by parents. In Topeka, Kansas, students were forbidden to wear Halloween costumes unless they were patriot themes when they could have worn those Halloween costumes a year prior. This is forced patriotism. All right, you can't listen to songs. You can't dress how you want to. You can't choose to not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or not sing the national anthem. And they're worried about conservatives being censored. Let's move on. Conservatives claim that they are silenced, right? CNN develops a policy right after 9/11 where they will only talk about civilian deaths in Afghanistan if they compare it to the 9/11 death toll. Do you know how dark and disturbing that is? Where you can't go as an anchor, as a news anchor, you can't say today the U.S. military bombed a hospital. They killed one known terrorist, 17 children, 42 adults with no terrorist affiliation. You can't say that without saying, however, 3,000 Americans lost their lives on 9/11. What is the connection? Why do you have to say, you know, these people died over in this country that we're bombing, but we support the military, so let's just tell you how many people died here. There should not be a connection. That is extremely awful. I'm not even going to go to the rest of the stuff now because I have a lot of examples and I'll get to them later, God willing. But no, the idea that tech companies should be allowed to ban whoever they want, I in general agree with. I don't want them to ban me because I'm black, but you have to understand, you really do have to understand that the right to do something does not mean you should do it. For example, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. If you say some crazy shit online and people call you crazy for saying that crazy shit, that does not mean that your rights are being infringed upon. It means their rights are being enforced. That's all I gotta say for right now. I'm gonna press play because I'm out of breath.
Oh, hey y'all, just want to quickly say hi.
Is that Liz the Biz with Cheese Whiz?
No.
Yeah. Every time I come in here, you guys like a new thing to do.
Oh, to say about your arrival?
My name.
Yes, Liz the Biz with Cheese Whiz. That's what we're going with today. Liz, I'm so happy that you're joining us. We're gonna press play, but I'm gonna post these links in the chat. If you all want to find these links in the chat, you can just look on Twitch.
Wow. It's a hard one, honestly, because is it whoever, just based on what they deem is wrong? Like
your mom's a hard one. Ooh, that's gross. Let me keep playing.
I don't know.
Mom's
I worked in a country club once, and they had a strict dress code for employees and members. I mean, as long as it's legal.
Right, that's the one caveat. I mean, you can't say no Jews, no whatever.
As long as they have a set terms and conditions, then they can ban whoever they want. They shouldn't just ban whoever.
So you agree? I'm sorry.
Well, I think they should be able to say, okay, you're done, even if
you're out of here,
doesn't
Jimmy.
necessarily impede on the terms and conditions.
Basically, I think what we're having is a free market response, saying let them do what they want.
Yeah, y'all conservatives love that free market, don't y'all, bitches?
You have to have a functioning free market where people can go somewhere else.
But they can't.
Well, Bennett's liberal. He just said that. He's liberal.
I know that's not tricked up in my chat, boy. Welcome. So nice to have y'all. We got a full little parlay going on here. I'm gonna press play real quick though, but yeah. I agree with you, and I want to come back to that.
I think what we're having is a free market response, saying let them do what they want and let consumers.
Oh, you're saying he's the liberal saying that? Yes, I agree. The liberal is saying that. I'm saying that the liberal is saying that to the conservatives, and conservatives constantly espouse their love and obsession with the free market. So what he's saying should really resonate with them.
Go where they are, but you have to have a functioning free market where people can go somewhere else.
But they can't right now, though. That's the problem.
What you talking about? Boy, you can have a Google Hangouts right now. Let me
Parler
being removed from the App Store.
on web services and the App Store, and Basically, it's an antitrust law kind of thing because basically they're trying to create a monopoly between all the social media, like Twitter and Facebook. And I think that's what I read off of it.
I've actually talked to an owner of one platform who says they do more to combat hate speech on a per person basis than some of the larger entities, but they still can't get picked up on Apple and the Google Play.
That's my problem.
The market isn't functioning properly then.
Like, okay, should Twitter have the leader of Hezbollah be on Twitter? They're listed as a terror group by the UN, by the EU and the US.
Well,
he's still on Twitter.
They've been sued over that.
I mean, have they?
And they've been sued over that, but as long as the tweets aren't promoting terror or violating
It's
the
also
terms,
a political
that's
party.
That's
the
the
thing. Hezbollah is a political party in Lebanon.
I know Bin Laden's dead, but if he were alive and he made a Twitter and he didn't tweet anything that violated the terms and conditions, to his point, wouldn't they be able to still stay on the platform?
And I think that I think that should be fair because you need. Well, I mean, not necessarily. I want to sound Bin Laden.
I agree. They should just ban them.
Maybe match.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that if they have a set guidelines and set rules, they shouldn't and they follow them. Then why would you kick them off in the first place?
So before she speaks, how do we want to respond to that? Anybody just jump in because there's a whole.
Wait.
It's Bin Laden.
Phil, what do you mean it's Bin Laden? That's an interesting sentence.
I just, I understand the position that he's coming from, but dude,
All right.
for the specific example that they gave, you can't. This isn't the time for that sort of defense.
I agree that it's not a good example and it's very untimely and generally inappropriate because it's interesting that they went with Bin Laden and not Hitler because it's always Hitler. But I am not going to play.
Hitler's dead though.
They're both dead. You're exactly right.
But Hitler was dead before Twitter.
Here she go, y'all.
What's that? Wait a second.
Why are you like this, Luna?
Oh.
Why am I like this?
The question is if they were alive today, and you're like, but they're not though. All right, so listen. Here's my thing. This may be an unpopular opinion, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here. I'm actually trying to present this particular argument. Should a social media company enforce membership to their platforms based on past offenses? And I'm not saying I have the answer, but I am saying if I am a convicted felon for any crime you want to put on me, but I am free now and I'm allowed legally to be on the internet, does that mean that Twitter should restrict my access to Twitter? I know that's not the same as me being a literal terrorist leader or the leader of a terrorist cell, but when you get down into it, what is it that we would be banning Bin Laden for? You know what I'm saying? I believe it would be unpopular, and I don't think I want to see Bin Laden on Twitter myself. But what would we be banning Bin Laden for precisely?
We also
Liz, you go first.
I think we have a false idea that Bin Laden even wants to be on Twitter. Also.
Interesting.
That's like saying El Chapo was going to be on Twitter if he was still alive. Why would you think? I don't personally think he would.
That's fine. Do you think it's relevant that he would want to be on Twitter?
I think it's relevant that he wants to. If he wants to be on Twitter, he wants to be on Twitter. Like there are presidents and dictators around the world that are already on Twitter. What makes Bin Laden any different?
I see you're not going to participate in this question. Here we go. Here's what I'm saying, Liz.
I have a question, though.
Go ahead, Luna. Go ahead.
Is Twitter considered a public good? Is it your right to have access to it?
You live in the state of Georgia with me and everybody else here, except maybe Liz. I don't know where she is at any given time. She might be on another planet. But I will say this. All of us, call your Republican representatives in Congress and ask them that question, because famously, or rather infamously, Congress is having an extremely hard time passing an infrastructure bill. Historically, infrastructure is extremely popular and bipartisan legislation in Congress. They can't pass it because they can't agree on what infrastructure is. To a lot of conservative, infrastructure means physical things like roads, bridges, and buildings. But to more liberals like myself, it also includes the radio or the internet. A lot of times education, social welfare programs, social safety nets, like childcare and things like that. And so ask them, because that question is not settled. The internet is generally considered to be a public good, which is why a lot of government entities like the Georgia Department of Community Affairs or the U.S. Department of Agriculture, while they're working so hard to expand access to broadband services, but is it a public good? Is it supposed to be free?
Well, the internet is not a specific like website though.
Exactly, which is why you have to ask, if we don't have a question, if we don't have the answer to the question, should the internet be free for everyone to use in America? If we don't have a question to that, then I think the answer to your question, should everybody have access to Twitter? I think the answer to that is definitely no.
It isn't a question for me for infrastructure. What do you define as a basic human right? That's how that's tied together. So like in 2021, this is why I hate when it's like the forefathers would not want this, the forefathers would not want that. The forefathers were freaking 1780. That was over 200 years ago.
And they were also slave owners. So
also
the forefathers wouldn't want me to have the rights that I do now. So
like, so it's just like they always like are trying to define the current state of the U.S. based on what was going on in 1780 when the Constitution was being written. Like, internet truly is a basic human right in 2021. You literally you cannot do your job effectively without understanding the internet. Even if it's just like basic calculations, like basic sending of emails, it's necessity for any position at this point.
I agree.
So henceforth, you have to include internet as an infrastructure, and technically, it is a physical standing item. Like there are like towers up everywhere that define how great your internet is. So it's confusing on why they would not publicly available internet is not a widespread thing in the United States. And every time cities want to create broadband internet in their city, they're shut down due to like this random. Like they were able to put this law to why so Comcast and like AT&T can benefit as a private entity versus cities making their own public internet. And that's pretty tragic because it's a basic human right that we believe that people should be paying for.
I agree.
However, like water.
I don't know if I agree that access to internet is a basic human right. Maybe a civil right, but certainly a public good. I think, your freedom from torture and genocide and religious persecution, I would keep those in line with, those are human rights. But I think access to broadband, like human rights are things that everyone should have a right to, no matter what year it is in the history of humanity and human civilization. But public goods are really controlled, like time controlled. So radio was not a public good before radio existed, but now the internet and internet infrastructure is so closely entwined with the way our society operates. I do agree everyone should have access to it, even though I don't think it's a human right, but everyone should have access to it.
I will go against the reason your argument is weak for me specifically is that you said freedom from religious persecution. That has never been a human right in any point in history.
Persecution.
Yes. That's not been a human right at any point in history. Nowhere in history can you tell that any community can say that that is a human right that they have defined.
But this is
absolutely not.
But this is not a legal argument. I'm not saying that it's a human right according to the ACLU or to the UN or to the United States. I'm saying that you should have that freedom no matter what time it is, no matter what year it is.
But that's okay. I will default my argument.
I'm not sure what that means. Also, wait, what does my claim about religious persecution have to do with internet?
That's the thing, though. Like, it just
what does it have to do with the internet?
It's like one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Your entire argument was just spoiled for me. Sorry.
I'm not sure if that makes sense to me, but we're gonna move on anyway. The fact of the matter is, I don't think that internet is a basic human right, but I think access to the internet in a developed society like ours is a public good, and everyone should have access to it regardless of how much they can contribute to the existence of internet infrastructure. For example, the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, both of them have worked extensively getting internet up in rural communities. And when people think internet, they think, oh, that's only for the cities, it's only for the metropolitan areas. No, farmers need internet too, because internet allows farmers to connect all of their equipment and their technologies so that they can become better, more profitable, more productive farmers, i.e. feed America and the world. They need internet to do their job. I need internet to do my job. If you need internet to even do anything in society, it should be a public good. Radio was that way back when it was invented in the early, well, technically in like the late 19th, early 20th century. Access to television or cable kind of became one. Like, there's a reason why if you hook up your TV with a cable, you get 3 channels, because you have to have access to news. People, like, there's a reason why they broadcast public service announcements on like channel 1, 2, and 3 or whatever, because you're supposed to be an informed member of the populace. These are public goods. The internet is one of them. What does this have to do? What the hell are we talking about? I forgot what. Censorship? Oh, yeah. Censorship. Yeah.
I feel like we dodged that original question about like Osama, because it was basically just like, should I be banned off Twitter for something I've done, even though I have not violated Twitter's guidelines?
Exactly.
And they extreme example.
I'd say if you haven't violated the guidelines, then you shouldn't be banned.
And so that's like, Osama is a hard question to answer, because that's a very extreme example. Like, again, I don't think that people who were formerly incarcerated should be banned off social media platforms because they have been convicted of a crime. However, Osama bin Laden committed a crime. So what exactly would be banning him for? Would it be for, mass murder, atrocities, terrorist attacks? Like, I guess that depends on the terms and conditions. It's like, yeah, you can be a convicted murderer, but you can't be a terrorist. I hope nobody clips that out of nowhere, because out of context, I'm going to jail. But what I'm saying is, I feel like I guess my question, I'm not saying that you shouldn't draw the line. My question is for y'all, where should the line be drawn for a platform like Twitter if we agree that not everyone should have access to Twitter? It's not a public good. It's not a human right. It's not a civil right. But I don't want formerly incarcerated people to not have access to Twitter, but maybe Osama bin Laden shouldn't. Like, where's the line to be drawn there?
I mean, I think as long as you don't violate the guidelines, you can have a Twitter account.
So should the guidelines say, what should the guidelines say, I guess, is my question.
Well,
I mean, whatever Twitter wants.
Isn't that, well, it should, it would be whatever Twitter wants, but isn't that always changing though? Because like, think about all the things that we said and probably thought when we were younger that is not acceptable today. So it's just like, I mean, of course you can always like update terms or guidelines all the time, but like, of course people are going to look for like, so what is it really, And I think we just don't know the answer to that. I mean, I'm sure we can have like some type of idea, but like, what is acceptable to the general public where everybody would agree to it?
I also think that if you're a public figure, you have a responsibility that normal people don't have, and so your account is going to be looked at more closely.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
I definitely agree with that.
So, I mean, you could tweet, whatever you want, just don't let Twitter catch you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
a very legal approach to your argument. I see what you're making here, Luna. I guess my question is, if we want to know, we can just read the terms and conditions, which I'm definitely not about to sit here and do on stream. My question for y'all is more personal. It's not where should Twitter draw the line, is that where do you draw the line? Because I'm going to assume that the majority of us in this conversation don't want Osama bin Laden to have a Twitter. We don't want Hitler to have a Twitter. We don't want Alex Jones to have a Twitter. These are people that we really feel like just don't have a place on the internet anymore, nor should they ever have had a platform.
Okay, I want to stop you there before I forget. I mean, when you say you don't want Hitler or Osama bin Laden to have a Twitter,
right?
I mean, unless they're tweeting like hate speech and stuff that goes against the Twitter guidelines. I mean, if they have no tweets, what's the harm in them having a Twitter? You know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying. I don't want them to have a Twitter. I'm not saying they should be kicked off Twitter. I'm saying I don't want them to have a Twitter. But I do want people who have been in prison to have access to Twitter in a way I don't want that same privilege to be provided for Osama bin Laden. I'm drawing the line myself, which may change at any given moment, but I'm drawing the line myself is like, there's a difference between being a convicted felon and being a known mass murderer, of being an actual terrorist, because some people have served their time. Whether they committed the crime or not, if they were convicted, they're out, they've served their time, they should have the full rights and privileges of previously free people, including the right to vote. And I fervently believe that. Just because you've been in prison does not mean you should lose your civil rights or your privileges. I absolutely believe that. Except maybe, owning a gun when you've killed somebody. Like, if you've been convicted of a violent crime, maybe you should own a gun. Different conversation. What I am saying, though, is I feel like Osama bin Laden is an extreme example, but it's a different example, because if he was online right now, that means he has not served his time, if you get what I'm saying. So, like, where I draw the line is, like, Osama bin Laden should not be on Twitter, because he is somebody that if you trust the United States military infrastructure or the intelligence infrastructure, if you take what we all understand to be truth and factual, he is responsible for the events of the September 11th attacks. 3,000 people died. I don't necessarily think that a person who killed 3,000 people should have any access to the internet, period, because I don't want them to be able to do anything with it. And it's not about what they have done. It's about, I don't want, if Osama bin Laden has a Twitter for 18 years and he posts one tweet after 18 years and he's like, it's go time, or now's the time, or rise up, or something, I don't want him to have the access to make that announcement on Twitter.
I think for what it's worth, at the start of what I was saying, I definitely agree with what Luna, and I think Liz was saying a little bit of it too. I was definitely mixing what I would want personally with what should happen, and I guess after hearing about it now, I'm kind of like, yeah, I agree with what Luna's saying. But I also am like very much like, yeah, I wouldn't, it's like you said, I wouldn't want him on there, but if he's not specifically violating any rules or anything, which I'd also agree are ever changing, then yeah, I guess why not?
Mm-hmm. Jock, your mic is on.
It is indeed. But it was off because I was eating pizza.
Well, you did that.
Was it burnt?
Is that like an accusation?
Everybody jumping at Jock. What kind of pizza?
No. Oh, it's pepperoni, but it's, wait, I'll take a picture and send it to the group chat.
I'm just wondering if it was good.
Very good.
Oh,
Hey, good. I'm glad you didn't burn it because of Astral.
Yeah.
It took 20 minutes to make. Trickster, what are you saying?
I mean, it started out like one of those pre-bought pizzas, and then I added extra veggies to it because I'm trying to be healthy out here.
Hey, you gotta balance things out. I like that.
Exactly.
That's not how that. Okay, so Trickster. Anyway, so we've heard everybody's opinions. I don't think we've heard your opinion on this particular question. How say you?
I would say, like, similar to yours. Like, I don't think, obviously felons or whatever should be barred from it. But at the same time, like, Twitter is like a private organization. They can kind of just do whatever they want. And in my opinion, I wouldn't want someone like Osama to have a platform either, for a similar way you said. Because it's like, all he needs is one to, like, if you give him that leeway, you wait until he violates the guidelines and says, like, oh yeah, fucking 9/11 2.0, like, it's too late.
Yeah.
He got out already.
I agree with you, because if you allow somebody like Osama bin Laden, if we look at this from a criminal justice perspective, who has broken the law but has not served his time, who has not served the sentence for breaking that law, for which he has been publicly, but also, I guess in some ways, legally convicted, you're enabling him, and for whatever he wants to do, you are enabling him to do from that point forward by allowing him to have this Facebook page or this Twitter account or whatever. And that's kind of why they got rid of Trump. Trump broke the terms and conditions, so it's retribution. It's a response to what he did, but it's also a preventative measure as well, because they don't want it to happen again, and they don't want it to happen no more. For Osama bin Laden, 9/11 already happened. The attack on the Capitol, January 6th, already happened. Now, Twitter played a part in allowing that to happen for the case of Trump. Therefore, they took away his account. That's not the same case at all with Osama bin Laden, who famously was not on Twitter. However, I think what me and Trickster are saying is, in this situation, this is not a situation where it's just a criminal who has gone to prison and has come out and they want to have a Twitter account. This is a situation where a person who is the leader of a terrorist organization is now given a massive internet platform to communicate with people who might be sympathizers. Do you want to put this power in the hands of this person, even if they haven't violated the guidelines as they are written? Maybe, in my opinion, maybe the guidelines should be written to include, if you are this type of person, you shouldn't have a platform. So I'm just wondering, like, yeah, if it's maybe, I mean, and then again, we're arguing from the perspective that Osama bin Laden being on Twitter is not inherently contradictory to what the terms say, because we have not read the terms, I assume. So, I mean, I just feel like if I'm asking y'all where you draw the line, my response to that question is, let him have it until he tweets something crazy. I think you should prevent him from tweeting something crazy because he's done something crazy.
I think another question of mine, I guess, with like Osama bin Laden, like, how do you define? Like, it took a lot for Trump to, and there are many other elected officials around the world doing the same. So, like, now we have to decide: do we give? We're basically saying, like, elected officials get more leeway because they are elected officials. And that creates another wrench into the problem.
Yep.
Because, like, a lot more people should have been kicked off Twitter by now. If we're gonna, like, we're saying that Osama bin Laden should not be on Twitter.
And the thing about Trump, you have to understand, that was a political calculation by Twitter more than it was a legal argument by the moderators. They're not saying, has he done something yet? Not really. Like, that's not the conversation they're having. They're saying, should we do this because of how people are going to respond to this? Because, again, he was the leader of the free world, the president of the United States, the highest office in the land. They kick people off for less all the time. They're not arguing, has he said something that rises to that level of a violation? They're wondering, is it worth it? Is this a good, smart decision for us as a company? That's the conversation they were having. So you're absolutely right, Liz. You get special privileges if you're an elected official. All right, hearing no more comments, I'm gonna press play. I forgot we got this whole video to watch.
I mean, if it violates their terms and conditions.
Jock, I like the pizza. It looks real good.
I think they can ban whoever they want, but I guess just a hypothetical. If all of a sudden they were like, we don't want to see breastfeeding, so we're going to ban everyone just because we want to. Technically they can because they're a private, business entity, but I guess morally it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
I want to agree, but I feel like if I do agree, then I feel like I would be giving social media and tech companies far too much importance. Right. People exist without social media. I don't think if you ban somebody, that's like a morally egregious act.
I think you'd be shocked the number of people, especially like my age and younger, who get their news exclusively from social media. My worry about it is that the algorithm.
You can always make another account, bro.
Sure can.
Like, you can choose to not post, my guy. Come on.
Rhythms of these companies.
Even if they track your IP, you can just have a different device.
You can have a different device. You can use a VPN, use a different email. Like, if you always on the internet, you should know these things, my guy.
Nuance.
Getting banned is just a slap on the wrist.
You see, like, what trends is what is getting clicks.
Getting banned is just a waste of time.
But sometimes too, they artificially put things that are trending up there that really aren't.
Well, the problem is,
Really?
it's
Yeah.
the Wizard of Oz.
Reddit did that, and Twitter does that too.
We don't know what those algorithms are, but there are suspicions that they are trying to fuel conflict.
Right.
And conflict creates clicks, which creates comments, which creates engagement.
Money.
And so, in some ways, social media is dividing us as much as it is bringing people together in this big platform.
Oh, they definitely profit off of the division.
This is
too.
a random thing.
About the terms.
Sure, I like random things.
I used to be one of those people that believed that too, that social media was dividing us as much as it was uniting us, or even better. But I realized humans are just like that.
Yeah, I agree.
This does nothing to add to that. It's just how it is. You just don't pay attention.
I feel like social media didn't change it. It just exposed it, because a lot of the stuff that we disagreed with that would have divided us, we're not comfortable talking about it at the cookout, but we'll type it on Facebook, So, like, is it really dividing us, or is it us dividing us? Also, if you want, you can change your own social media environment to where you're not surrounded by people that are toxic to you, that make you unhappy or inflame you or offend you or hurt you or harm you, We have those privileges, and social media is a place where that is entirely possible, and we all can also choose to not be on social media, period. At least right now we can. So I agree with you, Liz. I don't think social media is dividing us so much as social media could be blamed for, stoking divisions that already exist. Perhaps, maybe, people are inflammatory regardless.
In agreements, it's interesting because there's nothing that says incitement of violence, but if we do put incitement of violence, then Trump didn't really incite. I believe he didn't incite them because he didn't.
I'll stop him there, and I will say I appreciate that he started this argument with "I believe," as opposed to saying Trump did not incite violence. Trump was literally impeached for inciting violence. Let's never forget that.
And say, oh, go to the Capitol and beat them
break
up.
down the doors
yeah.
and the windows.
But you have people on, during the Black Lives Matter movement saying, be restless. Oh, break down stuff. Punch a Nazi in the face.
Maybe if you communicated with those people, you would know that a lot of people were banned. There were mass bannings of Black Lives Matter supporters since Antifa. 2014. I personally don't know anyone who identifies as Antifa. That's usually something that I hear as like a talking point on the right. But personally, I know they exist, but I don't know much about them, so would love for you to explain. So, I mean, they are getting banned, right?
I personally don't think so because, I think, maybe...
Oh, why is he so... Why is he like this?
Please explain, Ashley.
I don't know. Something about him. Every time both him and the girl go against each other, it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, I really don't like it. It's like literally what he's saying to me sometimes, or not even sometimes. It's just like this whole time. It's so anti-Black. I mean, I feel like the other two, you can listen. You're like, I get what they're where they're standing and whatnot, but this guy, I'm just like,
I think it's because he keeps bringing up the Black Lives Matter movement.
Probably.
Hey, good
I'm
point.
like, yeah.
Mel calls him self-righteous and aggressive. All four of y'all are right. You, Mel, you, Luna, Jock, Ashley, y'all absolutely right, because it seems like more often than other topics and more often with other people this person is using his arguments as a response or a reaction to an argument that was said in support of Black Lives Matter. That's not necessarily the case with everything else the other guy was saying, like the guy in the suit or the 21-year-old or something. They're saying their thing, and I don't agree with it, of course, but it's not in direct response to a black woman saying something about Black Lives Matter. It's like black woman says, Black Lives Matter did this. This is what I experienced. This is what I've shown you, and I can tell you all about it. And this guy is saying, but wait a minute. Whereas everybody else is like, they're understand. Exactly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see how that's different.
Not even, but wait a minute. He's literally saying he doesn't believe her lived experience.
You're absolutely right. Let me show y'all. Like, he literally.
I personally don't think so because,
I personally don't think so. Credit for saying I believe my own experience. That's wonderful. That's all you can ever know. However, if a person is telling you people in Black Lives Matter got banned and he's saying no, why? Based on what? On what grounds are you saying that that's not true? More especially it's anti-blackness. I feel that, Mel. Is he Latinx? I thought he was Asian. I don't know, man. I don't know.
You can be both.
You can absolutely be both, but I'm not sure if
probably Filipino.
I mean, could be, yeah. I'm not gonna say what he probably is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just gonna say I don't know. I didn't know his family's country of origin. I don't remember if he said it or not. What's up, Snorlax? How you doing, bro? I don't know if he said it. I don't know if he's Latinx. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, she says, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Mel, who is Latinx herself, I believe, right? Mel, you're Latina. She's saying, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel more defensive and offended by someone who opened by saying they're from immigrant parents. And I believe Mel herself is saying she especially doesn't like hearing anti-blackness from other Latinx people because she herself is Latinx. And so maybe that's why. But actually, you thought he was Asian. So, I mean, we don't know what this. We don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I was like, he could be.
No, I'm not. We don't know. Like, none of us know if this person is Asian or Latinx or both or neither. We have not been given that information. So I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm just pointing out that it's interesting that an Asian person thought he was Asian and a Latino woman thought he was Latinx. That's fascinating to me. I'll go ahead and let you know. Spoiler alert: I didn't think he was black. I'm gonna press play though.
I think like maybe small people like because I
Or
focus
the
on the big
largest social justice account, Sean.
I feel like it's like larger people who actually sit in violence, like Maxine Waters.
They always go to Maxine Waters.
And Chris
Maxine
Cuomo, Don Lemon, like.
Huh?
Who's Maxine Waters?
Oh man, do I have an article for you?
I'm not gonna read that, so we can go on.
Damn it. Okay, Maxine Waters.
So,
She's the current chair of the House Financial
Oh,
Services
I know what you're talking about. I don't like that woman. She grinds me in the wrong way when she speaks.
Oh, please inform us. Tell us.
That's it.
Damn, really?
That's it. That literally is it.
All right. Well. How about this? I'll give you an article from Fox News, and the headline is Maxine Waters tries walking back violent rhetoric against Trump. This was published in this year, February 7th. I'm not going to play that video, but I'll go ahead and I'll link y'all to the article. Maxine Waters is often the easiest target for the right because she has said some things that you don't necessarily want attributed to you.
Alongside Cuomo and Lemon like he is now.
Oh man, Chris Cuomo. On a personal note, I really like that guy. I really like Chris Cuomo. He makes me feel like I'm not as crazy as I think I am.
Wait, is it his brother who was accused of, or is the sexual harasser?
You're talking about Governor Cuomo of New
Okay,
York.
cool. Because I know that there's siblings, but I forgot which one had the whole dealio.
Yes, Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo of New York, is the one facing allegations for sexual harassment. On top of his allegations that he suppressed the death numbers for COVID, for what was it, for the elderly shelter for the aging and all that. Chris Cuomo is, as you can see right here, he's on CNN.
Yeah.
They look very similar. Chris is kind of just like a thinner version of Andrew. I'm not gonna start writing any fan fiction. Let's just press play.
Chris Cuomo.
He said like who said protests have to be peaceful?
Yeah.
I think a good
Also,
wait, what?
I think they're saying that they're quoting Chris Cuomo when they say Chris said who said protests had to be peaceful. America was not founded on peaceful protests, but we like to forget that part.
A good basis point to like look at that from is whether or not someone.
Also, people confuse peaceful with nonviolent. They're two different things. You can have a you can be in a position where there is no peace without there being violence. Like you don't have to throw bricks and what did I just say? You don't have to throw bricks and beat people to death for it to be, non-peaceful. It can be non-peaceful. It can be disturbing. It can be uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to escalate to violence. They're not one and the same. They're not interchangeable. And so, I guess in defense of what Chris is saying, you can go there and cause what, Representative John Lewis from the great state of Georgia, one of the few good things we have here. You can go in what he calls his quote-unquote good trouble. Rest in peace for that guy. I'm glad they named the street after him. He helped us win that election both times. Anyway, what I'm saying is Representative John Lewis called it good trouble. Famous for being an advocate for voting rights. And good trouble is the opposite of peace. Like, you can get in good trouble. That is not peaceful, but that's not the same as violence. And they always use Dr. King as an example, who a lot of times I don't even agree with, especially with regard to his, methods or whatever. MLK didn't say go out there and be peaceful. He said go out there and be nonviolent. Don't throw the first punch. Defend yourself if you have to, but don't go out there and literally beat a Nazi to death with a brick. I don't want you to do that, but that doesn't mean be peaceful. Peace and nonviolence are just not the same thing. And I'm never going to tell y'all to go out there and commit acts of violence, but it's just not the same as saying to someone you don't have to be peaceful. It's just not the same.
Who goes on and incites violence, who is a politician, is being treated differently than like someone who goes on and incites violence and is a protest organizer. I think as a concern, yes, the inequitable enforcement of terms and conditions is a concern to me on whatever side it's on. And I think back to their various examples. I mean, I think one good one is the Covington kids. Are you guys familiar with this?
Of course, yeah.
Where a lot of people were putting things like, we're going to kill these kids, we're going to feed these kids into the wood chipper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they weren't really getting banned from it.
Yeah.
And there was postulation in right-leaning circles that it was because those kids were wearing MAGA hats.
Cancel culture is a conversation that has been happening in liberal spaces as well. Maybe we don't have like Fox. I don't know. We have these other stations, but maybe it's just not reported on a lot. However, I do hear so many conversations about cancel culture, forgiveness, and accountability happening in liberal circles as well.
Man, I got so much I wrote about cancel culture. I'll come back to that later.
Spreading lies should be protected as free speech.
Oh.
No, I actually, y'all gonna kill me for this. I actually agree. You should be allowed to lie. I think I should be allowed to go to Luna and tell her that her breath stink even when it doesn't. That should be, I should not go to jail for that. I should be like, baby, listen, you're beautiful, you're sexy, you're intelligent, y'all these wonderful things. But you might need a Tic Tac. Well, she could have a Tic Tac in her mouth right there. Her breath smells like wintergreen forest. So I'm there lying, and I don't think the police should enforce it. All right? I don't think I should go to jail for lying to Luna. However, I think these people are going to interpret this differently. Understand, and we get this wrong every single damn time. Free speech, the right to free speech protects you from the government. It does not protect you from other people. Civil liberties are different from civil rights. Civil liberties are protections you have from the government. Civil rights are things you have, protections you have from other people, other citizens. The civil rights movement was to protect people whose rights were infringed upon, whose civil liberties were infringed upon by other people, by racists, by sexists, by ableists, by homophobes. That's civil rights versus civil liberties. So when you're going out here and you're having this conversation with these people on the internet, because I know y'all like to fight on Facebook like me, no y'all don't, but y'all know you do. When you're having these conversations, let people know I can get on the internet and call you crazy when you say something crazy. Your freedom of speech is not being infringed upon at all. I am not the government. I cannot persecute you, rather prosecute you for this. I don't have that power. I am not the government. I am exercising my right of freedom of speech to address the way that you have chosen to use your right to freedom of speech. They are not the same thing. And I don't know if these people in this conversation are going to understand that difference. Foxtrot, how you doing? Welcome back. Let's press play.
Put my favorite quote from Justin McElroy on free speech in the general chat, in the general Discord.
I appreciate you.
Wait, I have a question. So if I say fuck the government, they can't come to me and like do something about it, basically. For free speech.
Imagine what country you live in if it is illegal for you to criticize the government.
Like a communist country?
Oh my. Oh no. Oh no, not her.
Totalitarian.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
What?
Nobody. Hey,
another word people don't really understand though. Let's be honest. Yeah.
Nobody attack Ashley. All right. I just feel like Ashley, you have grown up in the state of Georgia, correct?
Yeah.
I apologize to you for what this state has done to you for not necessarily consciously equating, but associating communism, which is an economic system, to authoritarianism, which is a system of government. They're not the same thing. There may be some sort of there may be some examples where there is a correlation, some real world examples, if you want to talk about the People's Republic of China or something like that, or the Democratic, don't worry about it. I'm not going to name any more countries. I don't want to go there. I'm just saying communism and authoritarianism, totalitarianism, they're not the same thing. But what I'm saying is what you just said is a very good example of the way conservatives see the world. They see a left-wing economic system, communism, as an opponent to capitalism, which is a right-wing economic system. And they equate communism to authoritarianism. Trump was an authoritarian president who is a Republican who is right-leaning. And yet they think that those things go on in the same when they are essentially diametrically opposed. They can coexist in the same system, in the same government, in the same society and civilization. But it's interesting, like if you look on any one-dimensional political spectrum, communism is about as far left as you can possibly get. Authoritarianism is on the right side of the political spectrum, but on a different axis. So I just think that you are presenting a very good example of how Republicans, of how conservatives have painted the picture that by being communist, you are the enemy of freedoms and liberty. Let's refer back to my earlier comment literally an hour ago, McCarthyism, the Red Scare. People were afraid of the spread of communism because they thought it would be the end of freedom. They're not the same thing. And the fact that people don't know that in the state of Georgia teaches you how Republicans have designed this education system in the Peach State. We're going to move forward.
My thing here is I think
I'm so sorry. I didn't answer your question. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you got arrested because you said F the government and the government came and arrested you, that would be a violation of your freedom of speech. You have a right to petition and disagree with anything that the government does.
We have to be very attentive to who we make the arbiter of the truth.
When I think about lies and like people's lies, you know, I think about people's truths, you know, people's perspective, people's opinions.
Almost a manner in oranges.
And, you know, that should be protected in that sense, because if you feel something and you believe in something,
Maybe
or you have an opinion on something, that is your truth. That is, well, maybe to some people it's a lie, maybe to most of the people it's a lie, but that's your truth, and you have the right to say your truth, right? When Donald Trump started this campaign of, you know, the election was rigged, he actually does believe that. That is his truth. It seemed like a lie to a lot of people on the left, and probably some people on the right. But
I like how he did not say for himself whether he believed it was a lie or not. That's very telling.
He has the right to say that. You know, there's nothing in the Constitution.
No, he doesn't.
There's no law saying.
Well, the question that begs is who says whether it's a lie?
Yeah.
Who decides it's a lie?
Yeah, who's the arbiter, like you said.
Now, before we get started that, even if Donald Trump's... Who is outside? I bet it's Liz. You know she in the highway right now. She just sitting in the middle of 85. Anyway.
I'm not gonna let you drag me. Like, I wasn't saying nothing.
Listen to me. I feel like you're the easiest target. I like low-hanging fruit because it's the sweetest. Anyway, I will say this. Even if Donald Trump has the legal right, don't ask me questions. Even if Donald Trump has the legal right to say the election was rigged, then you should be on the side of private companies that deplatformed him for spreading that lie. If you're going to say Donald Trump should not face jail time for spreading the lie that the election was stolen, okay. But when the free market and other people with the same freedom of speech respond to that in the way that they respond to it, then you should be okay with that as well. That's all I got to say. What did I pressed pause on something else. Okay.
If we allow lies to be spread as part of like a free speech, then we have what we have now currently is, I think 500,000 people now died of coronavirus.
Correct.
And a lot of them died on account of just lies. You know, if you wear a mask, you know, you can't breathe in it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to social distance. This is a liberal hoax. So if we protect lies in the realm of free speech, they have real life, real time consequences.
You know, we protect people from certain things that are dangerous. And if I said, take this placebo, don't, because it'll cure cancer, and people.
Oh, we ain't got the private companies spreading lies. Oh my goodness, yes. Like the FDA or the FCC, they don't allow companies to say, eat this green apple, it's gonna cure cancer and diabetes and all these other things that can happen to you, because that is a lie, and that is not protected by freedom of speech. It's false advertising.
People did that and died. That would be dangerous.
Theoretically, you would be liable, correct?
I would be liable
If you
too,
use your
yes.
credentials to say, drink this and it will cure your cancer, and someone did that, you would be liable.
I just said that.
But would CBS give me airtime for a commercial for that? No.
We complain as conservatives that there's not enough fact checkers that are on the right. There's Snopes, there's fact check, they're on the left, but there needs to be someone to take to.
Snopes is on the left?
Oh yeah.
How does the fact check become?
Yeah.
All right, so here's why he's stupid. Todd, you're an idiot, and let me explain why you're an idiot, Mr. Todd. I don't even know if that's your real name. If you say that a fact checker is on the side of any one opinion, then you don't understand what a fact is. If the president says something ridiculous, like inject Clorox bleach into your veins and it will cure COVID, and then you're saying that they're a liberal because they say actually what the Republican president of the United States said was incorrect, do not do that. It is dangerous and misleading, and you call them a liberal for it, you have lost your understanding of what a fact is. Please, have a seat outside of this room.
The facts are,
donates.
last I checked, facts.
Yeah.
Well, if they're actually fact checking.
Well, are there any that you all support that we could look into, or do you think that's something that Republicans could try to
That's
make
what
more
I mean. There needs to be.
I personally think that Snopes and Politico are by and large very accurate.
Yeah.
I think that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, continue, please.
No, I think that they're by and large very accurate, but I think as with literally any media source, you can't look at, there is nothing that will be the unequivocal truth.
Right.
There is nothing,
What do you mean?
so you need to look at,
things
you need to look at it.
Now, I get what he's saying. It's like a fact will never cover the entire whole truth, and that is true. I personally believe that the whole truth is something that is inherently unknowable because there's always more information you can add. Not all of it's relevant, but there is always more information to be had. The whole truth is unknowable. But I disagree with his assertion that you can't know that a fact is a fact, because you can know those things. And there are ways to make it better. There are ways to get more wholesome, more contextual facts. But his idea that like it just can't happen, I have to disagree with that.
I know that it's being written from a place of bias. Oh, I mean, sure, like hydroxychloroquine is not going to like cure you of COVID.
Right,
You know,
but that's not liberal or conservative. That's just true.
That's stupid or
It
not
depends.
stupid.
It depends. It depends. It depends if it's like an opinion, and then it also depends if people, like politicians, love throwing out different statistics and studies and things like that. And as like a little sciencey person, I do believe in the scientific method for the most part, and I think that things should be tested over and over and over again. And I think providing those, like if a politician is saying a statistic, I think there should be some sort of fact-checking body. However, I am totally on board with there being a fact-checking body that is, say, 50% Republican, 50% Democrat. I think that's totally fine.
There is political bias, I'm sure, in the Snopes realm. Somebody on the corporate board is liberal. You said the CEO, fine. But there is true and untrue. And if we begin to link those two with like political affiliations, then it's dangerous because we have no realm of truth.
There are lies that are harmful, Lawrence, like you were describing. You know, there are a lot of lies that are harmful and have caused a lot of harm, but giving the government the power to arbitrate what is and isn't true, I think can also cause a lot of harm as well.
We're far more...
I appreciate him for using Lawrence's name.
We should worry far more about the social sphere than the governmental sphere because we have the First Amendment.
Yes, First Amendment should trump all. That's at least where I stand.
Yeah, for the government.
Right.
I think for individuals too.
Well, okay. Let me go ahead and
It's about the...
I'm gonna screenshot his face. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the chat for y'all so y'all can use this too.
Face truly is everything.
Appreciate it.
This
I also like his shirt. That's an actual unique like utilization of Ankara that I actually like.
Say that again, Liz.
Yeah.
The fabric. You guys, those fabrics around a lot, right? That print. There's not any defined print. That's kind of how West African culture has made it. Everything's supposed to be unique. And you know, sometimes that print, the print itself it's called Ankara. Well, it's what we call, like as a Yoruba person, we call it Ankara.
Is it sewn into his shirt or is it over his shoulder? Looks like it's sewn into the shirt.
It's sewn into the shirt, yeah. But like,
really
I like
cool.
the design of that shirt.
Are you talking about the fashion? Okay, I feel that.
It's cute. You know, I always had to talk about that. If someone's wearing something unique, I like to talk about it because I love clothes. I love clothes.
Not a crime. Not yet. Not in my country. Not in the astral plane. I also like his shirt. I like his chains. I like the glasses. This is a good combination. He's made good decisions today.
Ready.
So yeah, his face. Let's see what he got to say.
Well, no, I mean the First Amendment is about government restriction on speech.
Okay, finally. Every single time, every Jubilee video we've ever watched, I have been frustrated because no one makes this point. Thank God for this fella.
So a lot of people that say I got banned on Twitter
was about to
and
throw
my
hands.
First Amendment rights were violated. No, that's a private.
Yeah, it's a
entity,
private company. I get it.
Some people should not have a platform.
Oh, 100%. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Wait, who did they say should not have a platform?
Some people.
Some people.
That sounds like a fake answer, but some people.
No, this kind of goes against my freedom of speech outlook, but like we were saying,
Michael, dumbass Michael. He looks
before,
like Michael.
like, I don't want to see Hezbollah having, a Twitter feed, or I don't want to see, ISIS having a Twitter feed. There's definitely a fine line. I can't say everyone deserves a platform.
There's this thing called the paradox of tolerance.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's essentially saying that if we're tolerant of everybody, if we give everybody a voice, and we're like, all right, everything everybody says is okay as long as you feel that way. If we're tolerant of everything, then eventually our tolerance will be snuffed out by people that are intolerant.
I think if they're causing harm.
Real quick, Michael talked about 2 terrorist organizations, and then somebody else mentioned Osama bin Laden. It is fascinating to me that the only examples that anybody has mentioned in this conversation have been who? They've been Black Lives Matter and 3 Islamic terrorist organizations. That's what Michael, the 21-year-old, and the other guy with the glasses have said on their side. Now, they have mentioned individuals like Chris Cuomo and Maxine Waters, and then they've also had extensive conversations about Trump as an individual, certainly. But when they talk about organizations, the ones they keep going back to are Black Lives Matter, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. That's interesting to me. And
I think they were going to go into Antifa, but they kind of shied away from that.
They did, and they kind of mentioned Antifa, and Antifa in and of itself. Also, Antifa.
Yeah, it's not an organization.
Not an organization. Black Lives Matter, for the most part, hasn't even been an organization. It's been a movement, and Antifa is an ideology.
Literally
to be anti-fascist. Like, what the hell? And I'll never look. Side note, real quick. I mean, I almost threw my desk out the window. I ain't even that strong, but I almost threw my desk out the window. When y'all remember, I streamed on January 6th because we were covering the attack on the Capitol live. We were all there. I mean, we weren't in DC, but we were all here because that was happening there. And what was the thing that Fox News, Newsmax, and One America News Network started saying immediately after this happened? That it was Antifa. That it was somehow some Black Lives Matter radical leftist cell that had snuck into this Trump rally and incited violence. And this is after the FBI said that radical right-wing domestic terrorism is far greater of a threat than anything that the left has done or can do right now. They're more organized, they're more armed, they're more dangerous, and yet they somehow find a way to say maybe it was Antifa. It's fascinating, the cognitive dissonance, that when you're saying the people that attacked the Capitol were anti-fascists and the anti-fascists are the enemy. What does that make you, Deborah? What does that make you, Todd and Charles and Jimothy and Gregory? What does that make you when the people who are opposing fascism are your enemy? Leaving that there.
Harm. So like all were all saying, that's when, and like serious harm. I don't think that we should encourage that. So whether that's like the illegal trade of an endangered species or that's a terrorist organization, I think as a society we should kind of.
The reason why I didn't come forward is because, you know, I think it goes back to cancel culture in the sense, like people.
Don't you dare! I'm sorry. Let me let him speak.
People who have been espoused from society because they did something so wrong is that
cancel culture.
Yeah, and you know, people do bad things, and people have committed like terrible things to people or someone or, you know, group of people. But I think forgiveness should be an element, and people should have their chance to get back on their platforms by, I don't know, doing something. I personally don't know what the social media companies would do, but
it's also like, I guess, deplatforming versus banning versus just people not really wanting to mess with them anymore. And usually the people who are really vocal about cancel culture sometimes are people who they still have their platform, they still have their Twitter, they still have their Instagram. They're just mad that society has been like, R. Kelly, we don't like you, or like, you know what, we don't like that you caused a bunch of harm to people.
Right. The other
Yeah, so while she gets that, before I get there, the whole story of these notes that I have now is how cancel culture doesn't exist and conservatives make shit up. All right? Mm-hmm. We started with McCarthyism in the 50s. We got to political correctness in the 90s. We got to the war effort in the 2000s. Let me touch quickly, maybe even thoroughly, on cancel culture, which does not exist on the left, okay? Who do we, young Negroes of Twitter, try to cancel? Chris Brown got in a fight with Rihanna. Some would even say he beat Rihanna. Bloodied and black-eyed and everything. People hated him, trying to blackball him from the industry. That was in 2009. It is 2021. He's worth $50 million and has nearly 32 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Logan Paul posted a vlog on YouTube of him with a literal dead body in Japan's suicide forest. A literal dead body. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he was gracious enough to blur out the face. That's all he did. All right? He's been insensitive to Japanese culture. He's gone around. He's been a general dick. Like what you would consider a dick on the internet. Net worth $19 million, 23 million YouTube subscribers. All right? And he's constantly in the news. I mean, if you have Snapchat, he's always on Snapchat news or some stupid shit like that. He's always on the news because he's fighting somebody else. Not in a internet dramatic debate. No. He's literally getting paid to box other boxers. This man still has a platform. Doja Cat was in chat. I mean, what was that tweet? Phil, you gotta remind me. Doja Cat was in racial chat rooms showing feet. Oh my God, the internet went wild for that.
What?
All right. So,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, Doja Cat, I want to say it was about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit. I can't remember exactly when it was probably more than a year ago.
I think it was like sometime last year, actually.
Yeah. It was like in
What did she
2020.
do?
She was
I know all that you just messaged except for that.
Yeah, so she was in chat rooms with people that were like alt-right or KKK members, just people who were like blatantly, openly racist, getting called the N-word and all this type of stuff, showing feet, you know what I'm saying? Basically cuddling up with all these racist bigots and whatnot. And the internet went wild for like a month. And she's still having chart-topping songs. She's still extremely viral on TikTok. Her song, literally, do y'all remember that darn, the Silhouette Challenge? That happened after this, all right? That was her song. Dog, who is getting canceled? R. Kelly.
Man, look what happened to, what was it?
Smaller
Kevin
people.
Spacey, I think?
Who?
Kevin Spacey? Didn't something happen with him recently, too?
Kevin Spacey, I just read an article last week on Kevin Spacey that I found on Twitter, and it was like, who hired Kevin Spacey? Kevin Spacey got another role in another production, and he is currently being sued for sexual harassment and sexual abuse. R. Kelly, the only reason why R. Kelly is broke right now is because is he in jail? And see, that's the thing. The only time when people actually end up getting canceled is when the law comes into play, when they actually get prosecuted. Other than that, they're talking about who's getting canceled. Who is getting canceled? My God, nobody is getting canceled, at least not on the left. We don't have that power. We get mad at somebody for a month, and the next thing you know, they post a viral tweet or another YouTube video or another song, and then they're back in everyone's good graces. Who the hell are you talking about is getting canceled? You know who is getting canceled?
Also, even somebody like James Gunn, because I think there's some stuff that popped up with him from like 7 years ago, something like that people tried to cancel him over, and now he's doing Suicide Squad and Guardians 3.
Phil, this is why you're on this channel. This is why you're here. James Gunn said some extremely nasty, gross, and disgusting things like almost a decade ago when it happened, that Disney found out of some old tweets and everything, and he got removed. He's the for those who don't know who James Gunn is, he was the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they said he got kicked off from the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because of those tweets. He got fired, and now he's back. All right.
You know what's crazy? Even crazier about that, like Disney has very questionable whatchamacallits that they do. But they decided to take out James Cameron, and the fans got upset at them.
Yep.
That was wild to see. I was like, oh, what? You told me a corporation finally did something, and y'all are upset?
Yeah.
So, one question too. The point also is, I thought interesting. I feel like him being signed on to Suicide Squad happened close enough after that, and then he got back on to Guardians 3 too. So I could be wrong about that, but I think his work practically doubled after that whole thing happened.
Oh my God.
The question being, what do you think happens to what's her name from Mandalorian, Gina?
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna.
Oh yeah, her.
Carano?
Well, she's a woman, so
yeah, Carano. Well, she's working again. Let me look her up right now, because I saw that she was working again. So everybody was talking about cancel culture, this and yada yada yada, and you can't do this, right? Gina Carano got kicked off of. She got fired from Disney. Her contract was deleted, removed, whatever you want to call it. She got kicked out of Disney because she was posting anti-Semitic things, very insensitive things about Jewish people, said some transphobic things or whatever. She was making fun of trans people's pronouns, and she was talking about if people said he, hers, she, him, yada yada yada, and she was beat boop because people were talking to her about how transphobic she was, and then that's what she goes and does, and she didn't get kicked off for that. She got kicked off for an Instagram story that, I wish if I could look back on Facebook and see what the screenshot was. But it's people can be...
Probably look it up.
Please look it up, and if you can find it, let us know, all right? Cara Dune appearing in new Star Wars toys. Okay, The Mandalorian star fired to make controversy. Okay, that was in February. Let's go. Let me see. Oh, Gina Carano uncanceled Pirates and Princesses. Is that a website or is that the name of the thing that's going on? Okay. Let me see. I'm trying to find the exact thing that happened. The Mandalorian. And to her point, to Liz's point, it's interesting that Disney is doing this because of all the immoral, unethical things that Disney is guilty of. Like, they want to have the biggest movie, the biggest box office release, which as a company you understand that they want to make money, obviously. But the way that they remove major characters from their posters, like they couldn't have Jesus Christ, hold on one second. Oh, who's he played by?
And in the Discourse chat,
let me look at that.
Screenshots of
real
the tweet
quick.
she said.
Thank you. The tweet, and I wish you had the. Okay, here we go. We can look at that. We'll read that. But yeah, like how they removed John Boyega from the theatrical release posters for the releases in China because they thought, oh, he's black. Let's take him off so people can come see it. That's the type of stuff that Disney does.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then let me see. Replying, these aren't trolls. These are people trying to educate you so you can get on the right side of history. And Gina Carano responded, in my experience, screaming at someone that they are racist when they are indeed not a racist. Ooh, y'all know how much that irks me. And any post and or research you do will show you those exact facts. Then I'm sorry, those people are not educators. They are cowards and bullies. You know, Gina, if you just said BLM and ACAB, which are two simple words, this situation would be made 10 times better. Let me see. They're mad because I won't put pronouns in my bio to show support for trans lives. After months of harassing me in every way, I decided to put 3 very controversial words. Yeah, beep, bop, boop. How dare you? I'm not against trans lives at all. They need to find less abusive representation. Abusive representation? What does that even mean? I don't think trans people would like all of you trying to force a woman to put something in her bio through harassment and calling name every day for months, such as race. Wait a minute. Race? Okay, the bitch thing is obviously sexist. Don't do that. I'll say this, don't do that. Don't be fat phobic. Don't call somebody ugly. Do not attack their appearance. Do not attack their body. Do not attack their weight. It weakens your argument and it's unfair. When there are so many things that you can justifiably criticize people for, you just look stupid and just ruin it when you call them a bitch and you call them ugly and call them fat. Just in general, don't do that. I can't say that this happened. I'm not looking at it, but just don't do that. Just anywhere. But then calling somebody a racist and a transphobe when they are, ain't nothing wrong with that, because they are, and they need to be told that. I know trans people wouldn't condone this harassment when they hear about the children. Why is the I not capitalized? That's interesting. Women and men who have contacted me thanking me for taking a stand against these bullies because it affected their mental health to the point near suicide at times. Yeah, that's happening. Okay. A lot of stuff going on. These things did not get her banned, by the way. What she got banned for was, what was it? Anti-Semitism? Oh, yo, shit thick today. If only I could partake. My chat.
I'm trying to find the anti-Semitism thing. Let me see.
Please do. Also, Mike, my chat is thick. Why did you say that? Mike, I'm sick of that. I'm real sick.
I'm confused as to what she means in the last tweet.
All right, so the last tweet she says, which
specifically the last part.
Which part?
Specifically the last part.
Wait, which tweet? Which what's the last?
The
part?
last tweet.
The whole last tweet or the last sentence or something?
The part after, the part she says, thanking me for taking a stand against these bullies because it affected their mental health to the point of their suicide. I'm confused.
Me too. Is she saying that like Gina getting bullied made trans people suicidal?
No, it's people who are thanking her for taking a stand against the bullies because it affected their mental health to the point of near suicide. I'm confused as to how.
People were asked to put their pronouns in the bio. Those are the people that she's saying came up to thank her because they also felt stressed.
You're gonna kill themselves over that?
Yeah. It's
okay.
Also, I linked the anti-Semitism. Yeah.
I think what she is saying, I think Gina was saying that trans people were pushed to the brink of suicide because of how Gina was being treated. And that's
weird.
That's a bold statement.
I don't think that's what she's saying.
But what else could she be saying? Like, okay.
I think I don't think trans people mental health is being affected by her being bullied. I think it's the people who support her.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking is what she meant.
The bigots. Okay, the bigots.
Wait, what?
From what I was gathering, I think she was trying to say that like she's getting support from like people who are completely against, putting pronouns in bios and all that stuff, and saying that, maybe I guess they feel like they've been discriminated against enough to where they feel air quotes suicidal, and then, seeing her support them, helped, I guess.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. Y'all are saying the people. I'm saying the trans people. I say that because of her first line. She says, I know trans people wouldn't condone this, because she's basically heard from those people. And so if you read the Senate, like the whole tweet in its entirety, she's basically alleging that trans people have contacted her, supporting her, because they themselves were pushed to the brink of suicide because of how Gina herself was being treated. That may not be what she means, but it's
That's what I'm
saying.
I'm saying. That's what I think she's. I don't think she's saying that. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, which is strange, because if that's not what she means, then why did she even mention that trans people are contacting her in support if she's not talking about trans people being pushed to the brink of suicide? It's like, trans people are contacting me saying that they're supporting me because they're being pushed to the brink of suicide by the way that I'm being bullied. Like, that's what she's saying.
Okay. Okay. I don't think that's it, but okay.
The only difference between what y'all are saying and I'm saying is that y'all aren't thinking that she's referring to trans people. Y'all think she's just referring to people in general.
In the last part, yeah.
But we all agree that she's saying that someone has been pushed to the brink of suicide because of how Gina's being treated.
Yeah. Not the trans people, though.
Right.
Not them.
And when I say trans people, I'm talking about the trans people that she alleges are supporting her, which may or may not exist.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying, if she's going to mention trans people are supporting her and then mention that the people supporting her are about to commit suicide, then she's saying the trans people supporting her are about to commit suicide because of how she's being treated. And y'all are just saying that the people supporting her are not trans people, but I'm just connecting those two, which may or may not be the case, and it certainly may or may not be the truth.
Okay.
So what Gina's saying, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply by being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone of their political views? Yeah, she was equating being a Jew during the Holocaust to being a conservative in America in 2021. That's what got her fired. And now she still has a job.
Her mistake was bringing up the Jews. That's her
I was just
mistake.
about to say that, Luna. Like, they always bring up the Jews in Holocaust.
And
they love doing that. They love doing that.
And
it's weird.
They're wrong all the time, whether they bring up the Jews or not.
Every single time.
Like, whether they bring up the Jews or not, they're wrong. But it's so much easier if they just don't bring up the Holocaust. It's not that hard to not bring up the Holocaust.
Truly.
Is that new information? Like, am I the only one who believe? Like, it's not that difficult to not say that you are a victim of the Holocaust, right? When you were not alive during the Holocaust, right? I mean, it's 2021. This happened in 2020 that she said this. So let's just do some math. World War II ended in 1945, so that's 55 years until 2000. So what's 55 plus 20? 75, 3/4 of a century it's been since the Holocaust ended. It's kind of easy to not bring up the Holocaust.
Not the Holocaust and slavery.
Am I crazy? Like, come on.
I think those are the 2 points of history that people actually listen to in their classes, because it feels like everything else was just in one ear and out the other.
It's the only thing, and they always use them the wrong way. They're like, the Holocaust happened, and I'm a victim of the Holocaust despite being 30 years old. Or slavery happened, but you're not a victim of slavery because you're 30 years old. What the hell?
You know what's interesting is that she got fired over this, but Walt Disney didn't used to be an anti-Semite.
Yep. No.
I think they did that because Walt Disney used to be an anti-Semite, and they're trying to, be better.
Baby, what are you eating?
Nothing.
Absolute liar. It sounds like something. It doesn't sound crunchy. It sounds not mushy, but soft. Is it sweet?
Can I say an aside?
Oh, please. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Alex. What you saying, Phil?
I'm glad that at least Disney's doing this, and I wish that Warner Brothers would do more of this for the most part. Given everything that happened to Ray Fisher and
absolutely,
and the stuff with Amber Heard and all that,
I feel that. Hello, Ryan 99. Hello. I'm not sure if you're a follower, but welcome to the stream. So nice to have you. If you want to join the conversation, you are invited to. So, excuse me. Where were we? Yeah, man. Cancel culture. does not exist in the way that conservatives want to pretend it does at all. Hello, Ryan. Welcome. All right. Anyway, so cancel culture. Chris Brown didn't get canceled. Logan Paul didn't get canceled. Doja Cat didn't get canceled. But you know who did get canceled by the party of law and order? Convicts. People who have broken the law and been convicted. Formerly incarcerated people. You know what happens to them? Can't find the job. They get stuck oftentimes in a cycle of crime or in poverty. They are robbed of their social mobility. They break the law once and then that's it. Their whole life is decided for them after. So again, who in the hell is getting canceled? All right, that's all I gotta say on that particular thing. Cancel culture doesn't exist. Fight with your mama. So I'm gonna press play.
The thing I think about with deplatforming is that you rob somebody of their opportunity for absolution. So if Alex Jones were to decide, and for somebody whose platform is their livelihood, not whose platform or who has a livelihood outside of their platform, like J.K. Rowling, when you take that away from them,
oh my God,
if you were to suddenly turn
Why do you
around
have to bring up
and you were to
JK?
say, okay,
Wait, I know he's going in a bold direction. Let's see what he says, because I can't predict how this sentence is gonna end. Let's just let he going crazy.
Rewind it a little bit. Thank you.
Let's hear what he about to say now, Liz, because we all agree he treading on real thin ice. But let's just see what he says. Let's hear.
So if Alex Jones were to decide, and for somebody whose platform is their livelihood,
I heard y'all get tense,
or who has a livelihood outside of their platform, like J.K. Rowling, when you take that away from them, if he were to suddenly turn around and he were to say, okay, the frogs aren't gay, you know, and like
he was right about the frogs,
these
though,
people
which
aren't
is weird.
controlling the weather.
I know he didn't say nothing about them damn gay frogs. I know you did. Todd, shut your stupid mouth. I'm sorry, keep going.
He would have
I'm sorry, I missed something.
All right, so I think what he's saying is that if you say something problematic and you get kicked out of your platform and then you change your mind, you have no platform to come back and say the right thing to. Correct.
Why is he talking about frogs being gay?
Because that's what Alex Jones said.
Alex Jones. Yeah.
Who the hell's? Let me just look it up.
I'm so glad you asked about Alex Jones.
If you don't know who Alex Jones is, look up You, My Neighbors.
Okay, I'm hearing an echo.
All
Does
right.
anyone have my thing on?
Yeah, I hear the echo as well.
Is that you, Ryan? I believe it is. Right. Thank you, Ryan. So
we're the same height, me and Alex Jones.
Don't.
He sounds like another Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, he pretty much is.
That's all I need to know.
Limbaugh's progeny.
Hey,
I know all about Rush Limbaugh now, so that's all I need to know.
Yeah,
Mark,
Liz.
you know a video you have to send her.
Send her. You mean show her? Absolutely. Yes. So real quick though,
Southern poverty law.
Liz,
I'm sorry.
I mean, Luna, I'm glad you mentioned Rush Limbaugh. What have you learned about Rush Limbaugh the last few days?
I learned that he was a stain on American society, a blight, if you will. Should have never been allowed to speak on public radio, and he is the reason that we are in the mess we are today.
All right, not specific, but very accurate. Let's keep going.
Before you continue, if y'all want to hear a really good series about people, not just like Rush Limbaugh, but just like terrible people in history,
Behind the
I
Bastards?
recommend. Yep, that's exactly what I was going to recommend.
That's exactly what Luna.
That's what I've been listening to, actually. I listen to the
hey.
Rush Limbaugh episodes.
Yeah.
Wait. I also have a series where they read Ben Shapiro's book, and it's funny and awful at this, which is what I've been consuming.
They go hand in hand. Sometimes you can laugh nervously. I know how you are. We never watched this one. Well, that's because it's an hour long, and we would literally be there for a week trying to get through that video. But yeah, not me here after viewing Billie Eilish's new song. Ryan, hello, how are you? Do I know you? Do we know each other? Thank you for following. Nice to have you. Alex Jones wants to eat his neighbors. Let's talk about it.
I'll admit it.
No, Phil, I hate you. This is your fault.
I'll admit it. I will eat my neighbors. I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just going to be honest. My superpower is being honest. I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years since I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your ass. I will. I'm combat model, optimum self-sufficiency. Probably the leader. The point is have you thought about that yet? Because I'm somebody that thought I could fix this, and I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up my neighbor, how I'm going to haul him up by a chain and chop his ass up? I'll do it.
What the fuck is he talking?
I'm so glad I'm muted. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let me just
What's
go
the
ahead
context here? Is it the zombie apocalypse? What is?
Baby,
What's the context?
baby,
You know, I heard
What was that
but
last week?
baby.
At the
clearly blocked this from my mind because I forgot this whole conversation.
Oh my God. It
I
gets me every time.
I don't say this often, but it doesn't matter. It's like there's no justification for what this fool is saying. There's no way for me to justify it. I can't explain it. I can't defend it. I can't tell you what the hell this man was talking about because holy shit, this man opened. What was the first thing out this mofo's mouth? What's the first thing he said?
I'll admit it. I will eat my neighbors.
Like, my God,
If you don't log off right then.
Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones, are you well, sir?
I need to know what was before this. I need to know what he said before this part because right now it's seeming really it's giving cannibalism. I don't understand why we're going there.
Like, why did this man say? This man got on main. Bro got in the main chat and said, "Look, bro. Look, man, I've been holding this in for a long time, bro. Look, man, I've been in the closet about this for about 16, 17 years, y'all.
No.
Look, my family, they may not accept me after this, but y'all, I gotta come clean. I gotta profess. I gotta get this off my chest. God is my witness. I gotta say something real, y'all. Listen." And he whispers, he gets down in your ear and he speaks softly. He says, look, baby, I will eat my neighbors. Not for me. No, baby. For you. For the children.
Please send me this video.
Okay, so my thing is.
What's your thing?
He started off, "I would eat my neighbors." Okay, maybe that's a euphemism. No, he goes on to clarify that I would chop them up, put them in my mouth, and swallow them. And I'm just like, okay, so why?
Let's hear that again, Ash. Let's let him tell it.
I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just gonna be honest.
Okay, he says I'm not letting my kids die. What is this, like the apocalypse?
Basically,
what's happening?
It seems like he's talking to doomsday preppers. What the hell does anybody know? Hello, Darsta.
Well, he is a conspiracy theorist, so.
Hey, the frogs are gay, so.
I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years since I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, "I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your ass."
Alex Jones confirms eats ass.
He said I'll eat your ass? Okay.
Yes, Alex Jones confirms eats ass, and I want everybody to know that. I'm going to go post that on Facebook right now. I'm going to @ my grandma. All right.
No.
Granny, did you know? No. Hello, Darsta. How are you all? Thank you all so much for joining. Yeah, I've been streaming for a while. I feel like the free speech argument, the censorship, liberals, conservatives, this is the exact type of argument that I have prepared for the majority of my life. And so...
And also, Alex Jones confirms he will eat your ass, just so you're aware.
But not for him. He won't do it out of pleasure. He'll do it out of survival. All right? Important to note that. He will, to save his daughter's life, he'll eat your ass.
There's a bit of a reverb.
I'm sorry. Is there? For me?
Yeah.
Anybody else in there?
Okay, it's gone.
All right, cool. I'm going to press play because I want to hear what this guy's talking about J.K. Rowling.
Which I consider to be a problem.
Am I the only one that's not in favor of this whole like forgiveness, you can come back thing?
It depends, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, because I feel like it depends on the degree. Yeah, because I feel like I hate cancel culture. I hate the notion.
Yes. There's no cancel culture.
we can essentially
Shut up, Todd. Damn. I'm sorry.
exile somebody.
Yes.
Mark.
I'm so
Well,
sorry.
at the same time, I still believe that consequences are real. And if you do something that causes lasting damage, then you need lasting consequences. You know, if somebody is a manslaughter, we put them in jail for life. If somebody, does something to harm somebody for over a long period of time, you should not be able to redeem yourself and come back to the same place that you were when you caused that harm.
You're gonna have a niche audience like Alex Jones. I'm sure.
I do disagree with that principle, and yet I agree with the conclusion. On principle, I think people should be allowed the opportunity to redeem themselves after they have done their time and face their consequences. The issue is that for some people, the consequences are lifelong. They will die before they're able to be redeemed. For some people, and I don't like the death penalty. I'm not out here trying to hurt nobody. I don't like violence. I'm just saying, for certain people, there's really nothing that they can do that should be able to put them back in the good graces of us. Like, there are some people that just mess up and just do things that are in poor taste or inappropriate or wrong or offensive. A lot of the people that I was talking about earlier, like Doja Cat and them Paul brothers or whatever you want to call them, you know what I'm saying? They've done things that are just wrong that I don't necessarily think they should have to pay for the entirety of their life. And also, there's nothing I can do to get rid of them because they're still millionaires. Like, I can't do anything about that anyway. So I do understand, I do believe in grace and forgiveness and redemption in general, but some people should suffer consequences. And really, if you mess up so bad that people, are actually hurt by it, then no, your redemption arc should not include your return to fame and fortune. It just should not. You can be redeemed and be forgiven and understand and receive grace without you still having millions of followers on your crackhead ass radio show. Like, it doesn't have to be one and the same. The reason why I disagree with Lawrence is because I feel like he's saying one and the same. Like, forgiveness does not have to mean the return to the same, and I think he is making that point. Actually, you can forgive someone. That doesn't have to mean you have to forget what they did. All right, it's okay. We don't have to hate you anymore. We're not mad at you, but you can't go back doing the same thing you did. That part of your life is over. All right, and that is like those things are one and the same. That said, though, I still have this opinion about the formerly incarcerated, that people should still be allowed to, get jobs and, work in certain areas. Of course, it's different. People who commit financial crimes shouldn't be allowed to, handle money. Like, that's a thing. And people who commit violent crimes can't own guns. Like, I agree. Those things do exist. However, your right to vote should only leave after you have been dead, in my opinion. Death is the only thing that should remove your right to vote, and there are other rights along that as well. Freedom of speech should be absolute. Religion should be absolute. Press, assembly, all of those should be absolute. Your right to bear arms, I can understand why they would want people who have been convicted of abusing their spouses should not own firearms. That kind of makes sense to me. It also makes sense to me that people who have committed tax fraud or been, in Ponzi schemes can't be bankers. That also kind of makes sense to me. But that's what I'm saying. Like, serving your time, penance and forgiveness and grace don't mean you get to return to exactly what it was before. Otherwise, nothing has changed. And I think a lot of us agree with that. Whew, moving on.
I'm sure he still has dedicated followers. But to say that everybody needs to forgive you, no. Because I might not. I don't it depends on your religion. It depends on so many different things. But I think people are able to come back to some extent, but they're hating on the fact that they're not able to make as much money.
I can think of personal instances where I had opinions that were heard out of context, that were rather moderate or something like that, where people had very visceral reactions and
it wasn't moderate.
Things started to come apart.
It's never moderate. Oh my God, Mel, are you still here? Liz, thank you for that. Have y'all? I don't know if y'all are on Reddit, but like r/enlightened centrism. Me and Mel were talking about this for like an hour today. I don't like centrists, and I say centrists, not moderates. Centrists. To be a moderate means literally to be not as extreme as somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you believe that the government should give free health care, but you don't think that weed should be legalized, or maybe vice versa, whatever, you know what I'm saying? There are people who are to the left of you, people who are to the right of you. That doesn't mean you're in the center. It just means that you're on the left and people are further left. You're on the right, people are further right. You're not as extreme. You're not as radical given the current context. To be a centrist is not to be a moderate. To be a centrist, in my opinion, is to be an asshole, all right? Because you are the type of person that are Me and Ash were talking about this as well. Like, to be chaotic neutral, to always play devil's advocate, to always say something like they think it's very centrist, but it's typically very right wing, but they don't think so. Like, when you go into a space where people are fighting for their lives and you say, well, hold on now, let me correct you there. No, like, if I'm saying my life matters and then you say but, what can come after the but that you think is humane, that you can think is justifiable, that you can think is moral, when all I said was my life matters and you have a retraction to that? What do you mean by that, Jimmy? All right, I just use Jimmy. Jimmy's always the name. So, like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Liz. If, like, people are getting all up in arms about you, then maybe what you're saying isn't actually centrist or moderate. Maybe it's moderate to you because you yourself are the center of your world. But, you know, people are going to call me crazy when I say that, you know, school should be free. You know, at the very least, between kindergarten and 12th grade, school should be free. And I go to some extreme backwoods Republican conservative area or some libertarian circles that says no, taxes should not exist. In that space, I am a radical for saying that I believe in the status quo. Somebody was saying something. What you said, Liz?
Nothing. I'm just being annoying. Terrible.
She said being terrible. Yes. And so I don't like centrists because the only people they help are the status quo. They are always on this stupid, superficial, fake ass both sidesism. It's like both sides do this, everybody's wrong, nobody's right, yada yada yada. They do nothing to help. Like, you can criticize every single person who's ever been alive for the things that they have done that have been harmful. That is a thing that you can do. That's not what they do. They kind of just give up. They say, well, the only side I can take is no side at all. The only stance I can take is to not take a stand. That's not helpful. That's getting in the way. You can choose a side and still criticize the side you're on. We do it all the time. Like, I'm a Bulls fan and we suck, all right? But I still like them. I'ma support them. You can still be on Black Lives Matter and say, look, man, I'm gonna be out here marching with y'all every single night at every single protest, but I won't throw a brick. I won't burn down a building, and I'm gonna ask you not to do the same. But that's different from going to those people who are fighting for their lives and say, you shouldn't do this. I'm not gonna help. I'm not gonna give any money. I'm not gonna retweet anything. I'm not gonna spread any awareness. I'm not gonna march or anything. I'm not gonna contribute to your cause. I'm just gonna tell you everything that's wrong with you. No, bro. Criticize from the inside, not the outside. And that's what centrists are. They're always on the outside because they're so damn afraid of being wrong. Hold yourself accountable and jump in. Damn. Yeah, Liz, you're right. So I gotta say, you know, make like Corbin Blue and jump in.
They're
scared.
And I wished for more of a chance
They
to
are
be
scared.
heard. And like I'm not going to state these things, but they were not anywhere near the vein of what I was talking about earlier. These were things that were just
so you're racist. I'm sorry.
Kind of unpopular.
Like the fact that he's so scared to say it tells me all I need to know.
Yep. What was it?
He definitely said some horrible shit, bro.
What was it that John Mulaney said when white women were trying to say that calling them Karen was a slur, and John Mulaney was like, this lady said
another word.
Yeah, John Mulaney was like, the N-word is as bad, or Karen is as bad as the N-word, and John Mulaney was like, if you're comparing the badness of two words and you can't say one of them, then that one is the worst one. So like my guy, I mean, like, listen, there are some things that I've said in the past that I do not agree with. I'm not just gonna blame it on my upbringing or being from conservative Macon, Georgia, or whatever. I don't agree. They were disgusting things, and I'll say it to you because I said them a decade ago. Like I've only ever deleted one post on Facebook, and it's because it fundamentally did not represent who I was. And it was when I was like, and I was literally just repeating what I heard on a late night comedy sketch, not a comedy sketch, but some stand up from Dave Chappelle. I was up at, I knew it, I had to be at church in 3 hours. What the hell was I doing up watching Comedy Central? The fact of the matter is, I was a child and I got on Facebook, and what is it that I said? It's disgusting and it's very sexist. I said, if you don't want to be treated like a whore, don't wear a whore's uniform. I do not agree with that. at all. That is disgusting, and I am ashamed of myself for even typing that. Do I agree with that? Absolutely not. Should I be held accountable for that? I'm doing that right now. I'm coming on my own platform, my own community, my own viewers, and I'm telling y'all, that's something that I stood behind 10 years ago when how old am I? 24? When I was 14. So first getting into high school, that's something, or I think I was still in middle school, actually. I was in 8th grade. That's something that I said. I don't agree with it.
Thank God you got out of your hometown, is all I'll say.
Yeah, man. And I mean, like, I didn't agree with that by the time I got to 11th grade. I had already changed my mind on that. And going to college and, just being around more human beings really expanded my worldview. And I encourage people to literally just get the hell out of wherever you're from. But,
for sure.
But like, yeah, man, Alex, you're in the chat. You know what it's like being from Macon. Jock, you from Macon. Like, we know what it's like to grow up in a world where that is the standard, where that is the norm. And like, I said that, and then nobody cancel me because that was the norm at that time. And I said it, and I can say it because it doesn't represent who I am. And I don't feel comfortable saying it, but I feel like I should let people know that at one point that was what I represented. And this guy can't say that. I can only imagine. What the hell did you say? I don't know, man. Remind me to tell y'all about this fake anecdote of this guy. There's COVID. Exactly. Oh, damn, you're right. Damn. Cora ain't even left it. Let me.
Right. Easy to take out of context. And I wished that I had more of a chance for people to hear me out, as opposed to kind of react viscerally from the start.
And I think there's also personal accountability. So for example, if I say something online and a bunch of people, whether they're my followers, especially if they're people who I know and trust and they have a really visceral reaction to it, sometimes I think what's missing on social media is that moment for self-reflection of like, did I say something that may have hurt other people? Can I get curious about it? I might not agree with that person being hurt, but can I at least empathize with it? Or do I want to get back on social media and say everyone is silencing me so then I can have a more niche audience of people who only agree with me? Because at this point, I think that most people just want to feel seen, heard, and validated on the left and on the right. And I think there are a lot of people on the right that do not feel seen, heard, and validated. I'm not going to say that what you all are feeling is a figment of your imagination. I think it's coming from somewhere and needs to be attended to.
You see all these bad.
Do y'all remember months ago, like I've been saying what she's saying, I have been saying this for months. Stop calling Trump supporters crazy and stop ignoring them, because that's how they got there. Trump is popular because he speaks to their concerns. He speaks to the concerns of people who claim that they are unheard and unserved, which a lot of times is like rural white America, but a lot of metro, suburban white America as well. Now, is it valid that they feel that way? Sure, your feelings are valid, but does the evidence back up that they are being ignored? No. Luna and I talk about this literally all the time. When you don't see the oppression of others, their treatment seems like special treatment. Their restorative justice seems like special treatment. For example, if you don't understand the history of redlining and slavery and Jim Crow and all, and mass incarceration and police brutality, then when they make a law protecting black people and their right to vote and their criminal justice rights, it's going to seem like fair treatment. When you don't address those people and their concerns that they feel unheard and unseen and underserved, they become the people that are Trump supporters right now, because they literally have no understanding of why black people are getting everything, gay people are getting everything, women are getting everything. But me, some rural suburban white fella, I'm not getting anything. Nobody ever talks to me, but Trump, that Trump guy sure did. They have not been educated to understand the context behind all of these measures that people are taking, and that is the missing link. Don't ignore them. Don't call them crazy. They are every much as human as you are. Talk to them and tell them why this is happening. You can't always change their mind. A lot of times you won't even get close, but you can try. You can talk to them. You can have a conversation with these people and tell them, look, man, the reason why they changed the standards for this and that is because of this and that. It doesn't come out of nowhere. There is a history behind this that you have not been taught. You want to know why you haven't been taught? Because you are the child of a person who lived through the 90s. And in the 90s, what were they talking about? Political correctness. And that entire conversation, that entire concept was invented by conservatives. And your parent is the child of someone who lived through the civil rights movement. And that person is the child of someone who lived through Jim Crow. And that person is the child of someone who owned slaves. So of course you're not going to get it. No, like, we expect you to get it because there's the internet, but you have never been in the position to where you were primed to understand the context behind these things, and I demonstrably was, because I am on the entire other side of history than you choose to be. All right? And this is why these people exist. So, like she's saying, she's right. Don't ignore them. Don't call them crazy. Don't go to their house and say, like, hey, man, open up. I need to talk to you. Don't do that. But I am saying don't shy away from the dialogue. Engage in the discourse when it is possible, when it is comfortable, when it's an option that's available to you. Just do it, because ignoring them is how we got to January 6th. Now, what were we saying, Liz?
I just want to talk to you about your extended warrant. But anyway, that's my joke comment. My secondary comment was the fact, like, I think also one of the places that we're definitely struggling with this entire situation is that it's going to be very hard to convince poor white folks that things that affect Black people affect them more as poor folks than suburban or urban, or not, middle class.
What?
Guys, do you get what I'm saying?
Lost you for a hot sec.
You're saying it's difficult.
There's actually an active amount of work that goes into making poor white folks believe that the reason they are in their position is because of poor Black folks, because of poor Hispanic folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not realizing that they are all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And like that right there is going to be, because like there's so much work in making sure everyone feels disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And more work needs to be going to letting people understand that they are connected, and that's like it's gonna be hard for the government, like that really, like the government side, but also like there's just so much historical, social effects that have been put in place for so long that like truly like there has to be like people, we have to completely change people's mind to how they got here. And it is like you can't ignore that impact of like family history and what the family tells them, what their parents tell, what they learn from their active community, like close proximity community, versus whatever we're trying to like we're saying that is the truth. Because like that's the thing with truth, even though it is the truth, that really truth only mean like humans are emotional,
right?
Truth only goes so far.
Yeah.
That like this entire situation, like, so like I'm basically like I'm basically circling around because it's that complicated. Like, yeah, probably I said what I was trying to say though.
I agree, and on top of that, what you're saying is incredibly true, Liz. On any day of the year and any moment in human history, add on to this unique moment in political America in 2021 where we can't even agree on the facts, where misinformation, disinformation is so prevalent and so rampant we can't even agree on what happened, where Republicans in Congress have blocked measures by Congress to establish an independent investigative committee to understand what happened on the events of January 6th, because they know them, well, in my opinion, because they know that they themselves are implicated in what happened. But when you can't even establish a body of facts that we can all agree on, oh, hello, Hazel. When you can't even agree on a body of facts, it makes everything else more difficult, because it's like your word is as good as mine, and that shouldn't always be true, you know? Like saying that the earth revolves around the sun should be the truth and the fact. And you can say that the sun revolves around the earth if you want to, but we should not respect it as equal to the other fact, you know? And that's the moment that we're in. And so it's incredibly difficult. And I mean, I have so many arguments all the time on Facebook. You post as many links, as many sources as you want to, and it just doesn't work. But a lot of times if a person is posting it, like the OP, the original poster, I may not be able to change their mind no matter what I do. That is what it is, all right? But you post that link, you share that story and that information, because you never know who might be passing through. You never know who might look at that and be like, oh man, I really agree with the original poster, but now that I see this, I don't know, you know? Or maybe somebody who's on the fringes and now you've helped change their mind, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody who is deep rooted, those aren't the people you're going for. It's literally like politics in general. Democrats are not trying to change the minds of Republicans. No, that's not the point. The Republican is to get everybody in the middle, or to get more people on your side to vote than their side. Like that's the way it works. And for me, my idea is like, fight them at every angle on every argument that you can, and somewhere along the lines, you know, through collateral damage or whatever, somebody's gonna see an argument that they were originally not have been presented. And so that by itself, there is value in that. I got peanuts stuck in my teeth. Everybody say hello to Hazel. She's wait.
Hi. Bad things about happening to, you know, Trump supporters, and like they're getting their car keyed or stuff like that. And then my parents are always like, you know, maybe you should just keep it to yourself. And that's a shame, because I thought we lived in a society where we could talk about, you know, differing ideas, and we had that platform to have that free speech and, you know, to have a healthy debate. And so it's kind of.
At what point in history, at what point in American history, my brother, do you believe that has ever been the case? Do you remember, I hate to keep going back to this, do you remember the Civil War? Do you remember they shot Lincoln, and they shot JFK, and they shot Dr. King, and they shot MLK? They shot a lot of folks, all right? A lot of people getting shot in America because it's America, and we like to shoot folks here.
Yeah.
And so, like, what is this utopia that conservatives are always talking about existed in the past? There's Negro, at no point did that shit ever happen. No. We've been killing each other over opinions for as long as we've been around. It's basically sewn into the American fabric. We just lie to ourselves for fake patriotism and say that we're all on the same page and that we can be genuine about it. And in some places we can, and a lot of places we try to be. But don't fool yourself into thinking that that was ever the standard. That's not the norm. It may have been better at some points. It was really worse at a lot of points. We went to war with ourselves over it. Yes, the cat core. This is Hazel. Anyway, you lost your mind if you say, man, we live in a country where we are allowed to talk about our feelings and not get upset. Have you lost your damn mind? Do you remember the 60s? Do you remember the 70s? What about the 80s?
Even the Holocaust that they continue to use as their example, like, that argument still doesn't make sense.
And it never will, because it doesn't. I'm kissing my cat. All right, let's press play.
I feel, especially my family and on social media, is that they want to put me into submission to suppress my voice and my conservative opinions.
I can kind of.
What he's saying is true. People do want to suppress conservative opinions. Are they suppressed more than liberal opinions? No. You're wrong about that. People don't like that you like Trump. I don't like that you like Trump. These are facts. Like, these are the truth. He's absolutely not wrong about that. But it is a conservative mentality to think that you're the only victim of that. Have you lost your damn mind? Have you not been watching my stream this whole time, sir? Obviously not, because this was in February. But that doesn't matter. You should have been watching the stream, and I would have given you examples.
Resonate with what you said, not necessarily from a family standpoint, but you know, from a like large scale, generally speaking, when somebody sees like somebody like me, just a black man, you know, like prominent in their beliefs about like, you know, the greatness of, you know, pre-colonial Africa, or, you know, just loving kente cloth and stuff like that. There are presumptions made, and it obviously doesn't make people like me feel seen or heard or understood, because you just seen me and made a bunch of assumptions, you know, assumed a bunch of things. Like, I think we kind of have that problem, not only with social media, but just in general. You know, there's biases. It's tough. You know, it's tough to have any different opinion or any different voice.
All right. And that has always been the case. Like, damn, this is not new. Y'all are not the only victims. That's all I gotta say, bro. Everybody out here, there are some things that I meant to share during the course of this discussion that I did not get to share yet. Real quick, let's talk about the political correctness of the 90s. Basically, it was conservatives angry at what they considered to be Marxist professors and radical liberal students. A lot of these schools were in New England that got mentioned in the news media. Most phrases were coined by conservatives or started as satire, like follically challenged instead of bald, or fresh person instead of freshman, or animal companion instead of pet. Nobody on the left was saying that we should use these terms, but the people on the right convinced everybody else that that's what was being demanded. None of that is the case. However, Minority groups did want updated names. So black people wanted to be called African Americans. Previously known as Indians, they wanted to be called Native Americans, and now indigenous people. Firefighter is a term instead of firemen. And that's just how language works. Things change, meanings change, and conservatives, every single time it happens, are like, look at these woke liberal cucks or whatever talking about how we can't say anything in my rights or this, that, and the third. No, it's just that's the history of that, number one. And let's talk about fake anecdotes. So this was in the 1980s, around 1986, I want to say. A Harvard professor by the name of Stephen Thernstrom. He was a history professor. He taught race relations and claimed that he was aggressively confronted by students who called him racist after he alleged that, number one, black families have less wealth because of absent fathers, and two, he only reads the memoirs of slave holders and slave owners because, quote, no journals, diaries, or letters written by slaves have ever been found. Let's get some facts straight. Number one, they have been found. In the 80s, obviously they were found. So what he's saying is just factually untrue, number one. And number two, he didn't say black families have less wealth because they have absent fathers. He said, quote, black men beat their wives and their wives kick them out. If you don't believe me, read Toni Morrison, end quote. That's what he said. All right. The students spoke to them in private in his office and never called him racist. The former chair of the Harvard History Department, John Wiener, wrote a book investigating this professor's claims. So John Wiener speaks to Paula Ford. She was a student. She was one of his students. She was one of Stephen Thernstrom's students. Ford said that she was talking at a committee on race relations, which handles student disputes, so disputes between students about race, and advised that she speak to the professor because they don't have any authority to do anything about course curriculum or anything, right? Ford goes and speaks to the professor, but never calls him racist, never asks him to stop teaching, never calls him crazy or anything. But Professor Thernstrom never mentions this conversation they had. It was a perfectly civil conversation, but in Thernstrom's account, he never mentions that this student came and spoke to him, right? The Harvard Crimson newspaper, that's the on-campus newspaper, right? That's the news organization. The Harvard Crimson reports that Ford went and talked to Thernstrom, that the student spoke to the professor, and they asked other students if they had experienced anything similar. Wendy Grantham, and believe it or not, Wendy Grantham was actually played, she was on The Wire, if y'all ever seen that movie. Anyway, she was also a student of this professor, right? She spoke to the reporter and said that his comments were racially insensitive, and she spoke to the professor herself, but also declined to call him racist. So two students have spoken to this professor. Neither one of them have called him racist, right? The professor writes a letter claiming a witch hunt to the Crimson. Where have we heard witch hunt, Jocelyn?
Oh, Lord. Don't cut me up for this. I was reading something else. Sorry.
That's fine. Liz, where in public political spheres have we heard the phrase witch hunt?
Oh my God. You can't just call people out. This is the classroom all over again. You're giving us anxiety.
Oh my God. I cannot wait until I have my own classroom.
I promise it was pertinent. I was reading something about racism and then you were mentioning a thing and my brain got confused.
I can't wait until I have my own classroom and I can do stuff like this to people.
I think it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt. I'm leading in the polls. They have no idea how they stop me. The only way they can try is through impeachment. This has never happened to a president before.
Now let's go back. What was those?
You're talking about anti-Semitism again, or no?
Oh no! Just look at what I'm showing you. Listen, does this voice sound familiar to any of you Americans out there?
I think it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt.
What was that?
I think it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt.
One more time for the people in the back.
I think it's ridiculous. It's a witch hunt.
That is former President Donald J. Trump calling it a witch hunt, his favorite phrase ever. Trump always used the term witch hunt. That is an echo back to conservative speaking circles generations ago. 1980 was 41 years ago. There are decades of separation between this conservative professor calling it a witch hunt when there is no witch hunt, and Trump doing the exact same damn thing in 2019 and 2021 when he gets impeached. You can't write shit better than this, y'all. Listen to me. I sound like a conspiracy theorist now. I'm on my Alex Jones stuff. Listen, they have the same language. They use the same words. because they're saying the same things. I felt uncomfortable because I used my freedom of speech to say what I wanted, and someone had a problem with it. Ergo, it is a witch hunt. I am being canceled. Literally, no, you aren't. No one called you racist. The two students who spoke to you in private, never called you racist, and you neglected to even mention that they came and spoke to you. You've lost your goddamn mind, all right? This is a microcosm, or a really good example, of how these conservative anecdotes always work. They're fake, they're made up, they're exaggerated. It's like nobody was asking you to do any of this shit. What are you talking about? Nobody asked you to call it an animal companion, bro. We all say pet. You made that up and then blamed us for doing it. It be your own self. You your own worst enemy, Jimmy. Why would you do this to yourself? Now look in the mirror and ask yourself, why would you do this to yourself? Why'd you do it? And just wait for a response, because if it say something back, then we have our answer. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is, it's dumb, it's stupid, and it's crazy. And it's a lie is what it is. And cancel culture and censorship, it is always, well, not always, but it is majority of the time when it's coming from conservatives, it is so often people saying, I'm not allowed to be racist with my outside voice anymore. I'm not allowed to be homophobic in public. I can't say all these racial slurs on my social media account, so America is screwed.